Namaskar. Welcome to Kalakar's very special auspicious session. I'm celebrating my Guruma, Vidushi Srimati Malabika Kananji's 90th birthday today. Guruma always used to say that she regrets two things that she couldn't do in life. One was she thought she was never could sing ghazals the way she wanted to. In fact, she never tried because she thought the pronunciation wouldn't be that good. And the second thing was she always loved dance, especially Kathak. But she was not allowed to do it because her father, Babi, never allowed her to practice any dancing. And as it happened, Guruma's disciple, me, I had Sangeet Visharat at a very early age in Kathak dance. Unfortunately, I was also not allowed to continue with my dancing because my parents and Guruma Guruji, they thought it would be best that if we could continue with vocal music. So me and Guruma, every night we used to sit and talk about dancing as well as ghazals. So I thought, what could be a better way than celebrating her birthday with Kathak? Kathak means katha. And as we say, Kathaker shesh kotha, Pandit Birju Maharaj ji আর Vidushi Saswati Sen ji. I'm so honored, I'm blessed to have Saswati Didi with us today, joining from Delhi. I can't wait. Honestly speaking, I couldn't sleep last night. I was so excited that Saswati Didi would be coming, joining us. So much to learn, so much to talk, and so much to hear from her. Let us welcome Didi Saswati Didi from Delhi, joining us today. Didi, amar pranam now.
Namaskar. Chanda, I'm equally happy to be able to be part of this great celebration of a legendary person who I have met, and I've met both of them several times at various occasions in various places. And of course, words fail to really describe the greatness of their music and as persons, especially Didi, as she was so loving and so caring towards all her students and anyone who came in close proximity with her. So I'm blessed and honored to be able to celebrate through whatever little knowledge I can share with my viewers.
Didi, I'm so blessed. I feel really blessed to have you here. I have been celebrating Guruji's centenary since April this year, and we just finished the 50th session last week. And then I couldn't miss this opportunity to celebrate Guruma's birthday as well. And having you here is just amazing. I can't express the feeling, honestly. Didi, we also have Indrani, one of your students, joining us here. Indrani.
Pranam Didi, Pranam Chandra Di. I'm so happy. It's a belated Christmas present. Love you.
Didi, we will talk about, I know there's so much to talk about, so much to learn from you. But talking about Guru Shishya Parampara, we have to talk about the legacy of the legend of Kathak, Pandit Birju Maharaj ji. So please tell us about Maharaj ji, his teaching, his philosophy towards music, and then we'll take it from there. And then also, Kathak to you, why did you choose Kathak? And your journey, of course. I'm sure the viewers are eagerly waiting to hear all this from you.
Chandra, how many days do we have to discuss this? How many do we have at our end to discuss? Because 1 hour is truly not enough to speak about my guru, my mentor, one who has molded me from like a potter, from scratch almost. Of course, I had learned the basics of Kathak and under a very good teacher who is even now remembered, though she's not with us anymore, but she's always loved and remembered for being one of the best teachers for little children for the initial period. Srimati Reba Vidyarthi ji. She was Reba Chatterjee and then married Govind Vidyarthi ji, who people will recognize her better as Ashish Vidyarthi, the famous uh, actor, his mother. So I was now, if I have to talk about my journey, it's long, but I'll make it short. No one in my family ever danced before I started. I don't think even in classical music anyone had any serious training. It was only a little bit of the Bengali music, Ravindra Sangeet, and all which some of the family members were practicing, just very casually. So there was from nowhere there was any inkling of my coming into this scenario. I'm from a family of doctors on my father's side and legal practitioners on the mother's side. So I being the first child, my father was very hopeful that I would follow pursuit, I would follow his profession and take up medicine. And as a child, it was as if it was like a mantra in my ears, fed me with that. And whenever, as a little girl, someone asked me, what will you become as you grow old? I said, doctor. Everyone in my family is a doctor. So, but when I was very tiny, about 2, 3 years old, we had a person working for our family, a helping hand. He used to play a very crude banjo, like with reeds, piano type, but with reeds, very crude, handmade. And he was very musical, and he used to play those old filmy songs, Tan Dole, Mera Man Dole, and all of those. And it was like Kabuli Wala and Mini. I used to go to his small little quarter and dance whatever he played on the music. I used to dance. Seeing me over 1 or 2 years as I was growing, and when I was about 5 or 6 years old, he told my mother, Sapna, which is my pet name, but he called me Sapri lovingly. I was so close to him. He said, Sapri, bahut acha nachegi. She will become a very good dancer. And my mother, of course, scolded him and said, no, stupid boy, never ever anyone in my family have danced. How did you see her dancing talent in? So he said, no, Mataji, she dances very well. So I was on his persuasion. He only found out that Bharatiya Kalakendra, which had a Kathak wing, and where great masters like Shamu Maharaji and Biju Maharaji, of course, was young. And Sundar Prasad, all of them performed and taught, and of course they were great artists in their own. So he came and really persuaded my parents to get me enrolled there. And Reva Didi was my first teacher. For about 7 years, I was with her. It was such a loving relationship, like my elder sister, and she also loved me and saw in me. I was like a guinea pig for her, experimenting on anything new that she wanted to create. And I was, of course, very, very interested and very, very passionate about whatever she taught me. Again, I had no idea where I am going to land. Then, as I grew up, they asked me to appear for the national scholarship from the government of India, and I was selected out of, 3 people out of 300. So that was the time when Reva Didi told me that I was supposed to be taking it more seriously, almost like a profession, and I have to go and learn with a senior guru as a full-time profession. So, of course, my father made sure that my studies are not hampered. But going to Maharajji was, my God, that's again another story, because I was so nervous, not knowing him and having seen him casually. to go from Didi's lap almost into a very alien territory, as if, and a male person teaching. So everything was very scary for me. But then I had a very good um, person who was helping me in the class, Surama Gardharias from Argentina, from Uruguay. She used to take evening classes because she was in the embassy and could only spare evening classes. I was studying in the convent of Jesus and Mary, so we conversed very well. And then she gave me all that encouragement. Oh, you are a very good student. You will see how nicely he will mold you. You will see how beautifully you will dance further. So that was that. After a lot of hesitation, I did start coming. And then after a few weeks, first I was afraid. And then after a few weeks seeing her, I was encouraged. And then I started learning. And of course, there was no looking back. And as I said, because I had no idea of the field, even to touch a field or to do pranam or to say like Ji and Maharaji and all that, this was totally unknown to me. Didi was like a friend, like a sister. So Guru and Shishya, that equation was a little, the concept was a little different for me. So, but Maharaji explained to me, he told me the greatness of his family, of his ancestors, and the legacy. He is the seventh in his family of great masters, of whose names are available. But of course, it is believed that it may have started even earlier. So this is my journey. And then when I started seeing him, the most beautiful part which struck me was how much carefully and how much patience he takes in teaching a student. Even today, we are doing so many festivals, and when we look at our career in the past as students and just about starting to perform, we all in one line, we all mentioned the same thing, that it was Maharaji who saw a brighter future and a more serious artist in all of us who came from non-musical families. And he left no stone unturned to teach me every little nuance. And even to talk to the musicians on stage, how do I refer to them? How do I look at them? Where do I stand on stage? How do I come to the mic? How do I speak? Everything, in a way, everything. And of course, I was seeing him perform so many times. So this is the most beautiful part of Maharaji, that he is a performer out, I mean, in and out, and now also, even though he's at 83 and sort of a little unwell over the last 1 year. But when he starts to teach us, we all sit in awe and see how graceful his movements are, how much of the laikari, of the technical aspect, the rhythm he has within him. We have not even been able to take a fraction of what the great master can still give us. I have been lucky, Chanda, to share with my audience and you that it's been just only 50 years, 50 years that I'm with Maharaji. It is a blessing, and very few people get this opportunity. Even with parents, perhaps sometimes people don't live so long. But this is my 50 years plus that I've been with an unbroken bondage with my Guru. But I think even another 50 years won't be enough to learn what he can give me as prasad. So, yes, even when we were at Kathak Kendra under him, and when I was assisting him in teaching and in helping in choreography, many a times, me or some of the junior to me but older students were telling Maharajji, why are you wasting your time on A, B, and C people? They'll never become good dancers. Unko lay bhi nahi aata, kuch bhi nahi aata, and I don't think you should spend your time. But then Maharajji used to say, so then what's the use of me being a great teacher? If
Uh-huh.
I cannot mold someone who is incapable, and if I cannot give that joy and that understanding and that beauty in her or his eyes and his body, then I'm not an exclusive teacher. Then achho ko sikhana is easy. It's very easy to teach good, talented people, but the challenge is to really uh, try and bring up everyone to a level, and that is even today the weakest of the weak. He takes joy in explaining lay, in explaining movements, in explaining everything. So, and of course, if we will converse more, I will talk more about Maharaji's other aspects also.
Didi, it's a great lesson that I have learned, and I'm sure all the viewers would agree that that's the true guru who thinks that anybody, I am a guru and I would pass on my teaching, whether they have the lay or not. হ্যাঁ না? নইলে সবাই তো
Yeah,
ভাবে যে ভালো স্টুডেন্ট এসছে, আমার ভালো নাচে, ওকে আমি শেখাচ্ছি, কিন্তু যে কিচ্ছু জানে না
yeah,
তাকে তো তাই
that's
না?
it. That is what it is. And also, Maharaji is one example of being a wonderful performer, the emperor of Kathak art, and an equally good teacher. It usually doesn't happen. If one is a very good teacher, it is so said and also seen that a good performer is sometimes not a very good teacher, because he or she thinks about their own body, own beauty, own style, and then they are like taken aback when they find not the equal standard of level with the students. So many people don't take the pains, and they really only focus on those who will really shine and go further. Not that every one of Maharaji's students really made it to a certain level, but Maharaji has never tired out. Students may have really tired out of learning, but he never tires out of teaching. So it's truly a blessing to see him teach. Even I sit through his classes now. Of course, over the last many years, I don't take direct classes as like a student. But of course, I'm feeling very unhappy nowadays that he's not teaching me. So I'm continuously pestering. But my God, I'm becoming a bad dancer now. He says, why? I said, no, because you're not teaching me. So it's truly every little thing. I have seen Maharaji's, some of his very popular compositions like Makan Chori or some of his Thumris, umpteen number of times. But each time when I see it in a different light. I see a different wink in it. I see a different feel of his mood, a different expression in Krishna. So every time it's a process of learning.
How wonderful! How wonderful! I'm so excited to hear, because I have not. I have seen Maharaji many times. I have seen him talking to my Guruji, and every time I have seen him, it feels like that's the dance. When
Yes.
he's looking at you, when he's just talking normally, it's always you could see the expression. হ্যাঁ না? মানে সবসময় মনে হয়েছে যে এই তো আমি দেখছি, চোখের সামনেই দেখতে পাচ্ছি সবকিছু। মানে আলাদা করে he doesn't have to dress up specially to go on stage and perform. It's always there.
Yeah. Even now, Chandra, many a times, because as I said, last 1 year, very unfortunately, he's been ill and a little in and out of hospitals. But people, the organizers who request us, I said, but Maharaji is now a little very weak. He is not performing as of now, which may thoda sa kiya, and then he was not doing. They said, doesn't matter, let him just talk. Let him just come and talk to the audience. Let him just speak about Kathak. Let him just say a few bowls. Let him say a few lines of a Thumri and explain in his own words. Saptak, one of the biggest festivals of India in Ahmedabad. every year we perform. And then this time I said, Manjuji, perhaps Maharaji will not be able to. She said, doesn't matter. My audience 100% needs him. They want him. They will not agree a festival without Maharaji. So just let him speak, let him talk about his dance, let him, the way he expresses, the way, it's like dance all around him.
Mm. But I must say, Didi, we see the dance all around you as well. Even even
Thank
when
you.
you are speaking, I can see your hand movement. I can see how excited you get talking about your guru, and that's what the Guru Shishya Parampara is all about, isn't it? থ্যাংক ইউ
Yeah.
দিদি দিদি আমরা কি এবার একটুখানি কিছু দেখবো একটা কোনো ছোট কম্পোজিশন
Of course, of course. I have two of my students. We have hundreds of students, and many of them very accomplished and very good. But in this lockdown time, I couldn't call many of them. So these two are two of my very loving and talented students who will perform for the audience, for the viewers, a tarana of Maharaji's, in
আচ্ছা
which I have put in, of course, it's Maharaji's composition, and we have incorporated all the major aspects of Kathak, which is from the rhythm and from the beautiful movements of Kathak.
আচ্ছা
Tarana, which is believed to have started perhaps in the Darbar around Khusroji or Tansenji or that time. But so it has a flavor of that Muslim Mughal andaz. But of course, now they are just going to do it like a normal tarana. And let me introduce our accompanying artists, Utpal Ghoshalji on the tabla,
নমস্কার দা
and Jayavardhan Dadich for vocal and harmonium support.
Jayavardhan ji, namaste. Thank you so much. I know this is a lockdown period, but thank you so much for coming and supporting us. Thank you.
And here I have my two students. Please come in. Sanki Singh and
Namaste.
Momita.
Namaste.
Momita. Yeah. Are they seen properly?
Yes, Didi, they are seen. I can see them clearly.
Okay. So they will perform Tarana in Teen Tal Rag Janasamohini. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Then Nana, then say Nana. Say hi. Then Nana, then say that's because Parmilu, which has various types of boards in it. Parmilu. Thank you. Good. Very good.
এক্সেলেন্ট, হাউ গ্রেট। দিদি, মনে পড়ে যাচ্ছে আপ্পাজি একটা আমাদের গুরু বন্দনা শিখিয়েছিলেন, গুরু কি তো মহিমা অধিক হ্যায় গোবিন্দতে। আর সেই গানে এটা আপনার নিজের কম্পোজিশন, একটা একটা লাইন ছিল, থাকতে না মুখ গুরু করতে বাড়াই। তো এই যে তোমার মুখে মহারাজজির কথা শুনছি, বা যেভাবে দেখছি তুমি তোমার ছাত্রছাত্রীদের কন্ডাক্ট করছো পেছনে বসে থেকে কনস্ট্যান্টলি বল, মানে এতেই বোঝা যাচ্ছে যে গুরু শিষ্য, দ্য ওয়ে উই টক অ্যাবাউট গুরু শিষ্য পরম্পরা, দ্য ট্র্যাডিশন।
Yes, a guru feels more or even more responsible for the work of a student. More than one's own performance, I feel more tensed and more responsible and more nervous when our students are dancing. My own performance, I do my mehnat, I do my preparation, and then I present as best as I can. But a guru always feels that the students should really excel, and that gives more joy than perhaps one's own performance. So that is exactly what the Guru Shishya Parampara is, that the Guru liberally gives all of the knowledge to the student and wants the student to go on, and even Maharaji to kehte hain, I give you a challenge, mere se aage jao. Like his children, he says, okay, you should surpass my work, and then that's an achievement for me. But my God, who can think even of that?
How lovely. Didi, one of your students, born and brought up here, Indrani, who is very popular here, she is with us today. Let's have Indrani. I know Indrani has few questions as well.
She is a beautiful dancer. I have seen her, and I have been training her when she was a tiny little girl. And of course, she's blessed with a body, a mind of art. Of course, she's into legal practices. Great. She's a great barrister or lawyer or Bharat law, whatever she will become soon. But her love for dance, music she has a great passion and a great holding for the art forms. That's why even though she was unable to do her practices, do her regular things for a certain period of time when it was very stressful for her, I know, during her making of her career in her legal path. But now again, she's back in form and back in the same level. Which, I want to see her.
Indrani, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm feeling quite emotional. Presentation of duet Sarana just totally reminded me why half of my heart is in this. That I don't live in London and Delhi. So this is really the main crux of my question, Didi. Your contribution to Kathak has spanned the world and several decades. In traveling, teaching, and performing Kathak across the world, which experiences have brought you biggest revelations in terms of the value of Kathak? How have you been managing to tackle the cultural and language barriers while teaching something so breadth and depth globally?
Yes, when I started traveling, which was the first time was in 1973 to USSR at that time, and it was with a bigger group of artists. Many of Maharaji's disciples and other musicians were there, Begum Akhtarji and many other senior artists. But then in 1974, I got my first lifetime opportunity to go for a very big company, the Asia Society of Performing Arts, in New York, in all over America, with Maharaji, my mentor, and another very legendary, very senior dancer, Kumudini Lakhiaji, who used to partner Maharaji in many of the compositions, even in dance dramas and on stage before. So it was just the three of us, and I was really initially uh, the director, Mrs. Gordon, was very hesitant in taking me with this company because she saw everyone so senior and I was young of age, and of course my level was whatever it was. So she kept telling Maharaji, how do you think she can match your standard, and how do you think people will accept her beside you and Kumudini? That's how she called. So Maharaji said, no, people will see her speed. I used to do speedy dance, chakkar and all. And Maharaji did not much enjoy doing all these chakkars and certain other things. So he said that's another aspect. So somehow he convinced her that my going would be another additional joy for the audiences to see. And the first day I was so nervous because I thought, my God, tomorrow she's going to say, pack up your bag and go back to India because you are no match for these two. And you know, after the first performance, I think, of course, we also performed. The first day we went to see the performances at the Carnegie and all these big theaters. I was like shaking, shivering to death. And after the performance, Beatty was coming towards me, and I was, as I said, really, really nervous. And she came and hugged me and said, Saswati, I'm so sorry I underestimated you. And you were such a brilliant dancer on stage. People encored when I was doing all my pirouettes and all those fast things. She said, oh, I'm so sorry if I hurt you by letting you feel that you were not up to the standard, but you are most welcome for the entire tour. So, and then when I started teaching and taking some workshops and master classes under Maharaji and Kumudini, then I learned so much. And then when I started to see how, because I'm talking about 1974, when there were not too many Indians in every state, every city, and even for many people, Krishna, Radha stories were sort of alien, not known, and all these icons and all these little dramatic and elements of from our mythology were totally unknown to those audiences. So I was very hesitant and not sure whether we would be able to. How I was trying to study Kumudriji and Maharaji, how they are explaining to the audience and performing through their gesture language, how they are convincing the audiences and reaching to the mind and understanding of the audiences who had no understanding. As you said, it was a total different culture. Of course, language, we were speaking a little English to explain, but all these words of the Tumri, which were totally unknown to them. So, and then I saw how much in details Maharaji was going through his Abhinay, and how specific he used to pinpoint on certain Abhinays, certain movements, as he made sure that they understood quietly from behind, all those gestures which really don't need any explanations or any language of to understand a story, or coming from behind and then holding and maybe pulling at the hair. All these very, very clear gestures he used to use for the audiences when he did a Tumri. He just explained that it is the playfulness, the pranks of Krishna that I am going to bring out. Chota Chota Natkhat Krishna, teasing the gopis, teasing his playmates. That was the headline. he said. And then how much in details he used to specifically do these abhinayas, and how Kumiben also did. We did a story on Mirabai, the life story of Mira, the great poetess, the saint poetess, and how each of these emotions, the pathos, the the pain, the devotion, the submission, and the and seeing her husband in a different light, giving respect to him, yet her complete submission to the. So all these emotions, how she could convey to the audience. I was, of course, doing a little part with her in the, as Krishna. That was a big learning. And then what I felt, that in the West, especially in the far West, in America and Canada, people really want to go deeper into the uh, art and understand as they see. It's not only just seeing and clapping and just going back saying that it was a great performance. No, they used to many a time, most of the times, come backstage, and whatever little they could not understand, they would ask. And when we were doing workshops and master classes, they would want to know the meaning of each of these mudras or the gesture languages, how we are showing our eyes, how in details, or the bees as they hover over a flower. Each of these details, even if they did not catch up in the performance, they used to come and ask. Or even about the jingle bells, Maharaji, when he used to play one bell out of his 150 bells, they used to come close, and they were so interested, that wanting to know and wanting to uh, understand from within is one thing which really impressed me, which I really learned. And I thought that whenever I have to teach or whenever I have to talk about Kathak, I should not just talk superficially. I should go deep within, because that's what they want to know. You know, there's something hilarious I would like to share, which I have said a few times. Okay, I have to demonstrate, and you both have to be seen. My first time in at Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, I'm lucky that Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan has invited me so many times. I think the first time I went was like 27, 28 years ago, and thereafter I've been going like so many a times. The first time when I went, I was nervous. I didn't know what the children would expect of me, and what they would understand, not understand. So once I was trying to teach them gesture language, I said, okay, just see what I'm doing, and try to tell me what the story is, or what the incident is happening. So I said, please. So I said, what do you think I was expressing? What do you think I said? So one of the children, one of the girls raised her hand, and she said, oh, you were pukey, you wanted to throw up. So I said, I said, oh, yes, very good. I said, yes, very good. Okay. But if I would have been saying, I'm thirsty, I want water, so how would you say it? He said, she said, so I said, oh, yes. So see the cultural difference? And I said, yes, exactly. I was wrong in doing it. But you know, when there is not a tap anywhere, not a glass anywhere, and when you have to drink from a tap, don't you sometimes, of course, they usually put their mouth in it, and they don't drink like that. But still, I made them to believe that sometimes you can even drink like that. And when your throat goes really dry, you feel an irritation. It's not pukey, it's not throwing up, but it's like a dry throat. Does it make sense? Then she said, yes, perhaps, yes. And it was I really put myself, I said, okay, that night I slept and I thought, my God, I have to teach them in their language, in their way, the way they would understand. And once it happened that I was teaching them, and then there's one of the, especially the young ones, I felt it was very challenging because they really knew nothing. So I said, okay, did you enjoy the class? How was the class? One of them said, no, it was very boring. I said, oh God, really? Why? And then she said, you were doing the same thing over and over again. So I learned it in one go. You went so many a times teaching it. I said, yes. I really underestimated your group because I made a false statement. I said, my students back in India are not as bright as you. They want me to teach them many a time the same thing. So, these are some things which we should, and I'm sorry, there are teachers who I know have gone on the other side and said, oh, stupid you don't understand, that's wrong, that's not how you. So that's now not how, because they are not used to, they're used to speaking the truth. They're used to, if they didn't come on a certain day, they wouldn't make stories like some of the children here. They will just say, no, I didn't feel like coming. I wanted to go and see my friend. So, and you had to accept. And then I said, okay, so are you not enjoying the class? Then she said, many of them said, yes, it's good, it's entertaining, but we should get a break also sometimes. I said, oh, yes. So there are so many things which is not so here in India. We don't allow the students to speak out their mind like that, hurting the teacher. We don't. I mean, that's not correct. But that's how it is. It's different in India than in the West and America and Canada and all. So so these are things which taught me, and then when they come to like it, I've always told my students here, when we go there, and even if I'm sitting at the airport, of course, nowadays I tell my students that here also, people, why don't you realize the beauty of art and the beauty of becoming an artist? No, I want to see you both again. So when I was traveling in America, and when there were people at the airport, when who used to talk to them, they would ask, okay, what are you here for? Are you a tourist? Have you come to meet your friends? And then I said, no, I'm an artist. I'm a dancer. Oh, wow. You're an Indian artist. You're an Indian dancer. The glow on their face, the respect they had. Before, I was just sitting as a casual co-passenger. But as soon as they would know if I was in the same flight or sitting there or even in the trains, oh, wow, India has such beautiful art. And then they would like to know so much more about Indian art. They would really respectfully talk to me, and so much of joy they felt in seeing an artist. I tell my students here, why can't you really hold on and be a little patient and work to make your art so beautiful that people will give you that respect, even if you are, I mean, I don't think, I'm not saying it to hurt any other profession, but any other profession, may it be doctor, engineer, or so and so and so and so, if someone said so, no one, I think, beside them would say, oh, really? You are an engineer? I don't think so. But for an artist, they say, oh, wow, you're an artist. Oh, great. Indian art and so on, so and so. So it is so many things, so many revelations, as one should say, and so much to understand, so much to know, so much to bring back to the country and to teach our students, our audiences, how much in depth these people go into our art and want to know.
Great. I mean, you're right. there is no other field in life that
Yeah.
creates the emotion and passion that the arts does, and particularly the classical arts. It's
Yes.
almost as if people look at you as if you have a
Yes.
superpower. They look at you as if you are a super special human being. So that is
Yes. Yeah.
something which is a blessing. And I know from my personal experience that there are many lawyers in the law firm that I work, but there is only one Indian classical dancer, and that's why everybody knows me. So,
Yeah.
so today I'm grateful for that as well. Um,
Yeah.
I, I think that we can't really ignore the fact that despite already having the huge legacy of Maharajji, there is a further legacy to think about here, and that's your legacy. And
Yeah.
not only are you an orator, not only are you a researcher, but you are also a published author. So I just wanted to talk about this particular publication, a very,
Yeah.
very special publication with pieces in here which are not just
Yeah.
photographs, but actually anecdotes and photographs that haven't ever been seen before.
Yeah.
And I think what I would like to know is that what was the best part of researching and writing such a brilliant piece of history, really? How did you feel doing this?
Well, it was a joy for me, and this is one small thing which I could offer to my guru for his for all that he has given to us, and and of course, yeah, Anindita, that's another very important book that Maharaji has put together, and so when I was writing this book, the one thing which you had asked me, I mean, verbally when you told me, this picture of our duet is from that time when I mentioned the first tour to America with the Asian Society. So yes, I performed a duet, and again, I was so nervous, but Maharaji would give me that strength. I said, Maharaji, I cannot dance with you alone. It's okay, 3 tukras or 50, 151 chakkars is fine, but standing with you, it's really, the comparison will be too stark. He said, no, you have to think of all the goodness that you have. You are young, you are beautiful, you look nice on stage, you are more flashy than I am. Well, in your styles, I said, oh my God, these things are so mundane things. He said, no, 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 no. But look at a master, how he is pushing me, encouraging me to take a challenge to dance with him. And that's how he made me dance. And the first two, 3 times I was really nervous, but then I was enjoying dancing. And as I was dancing, I was like really learning so much. My body was opening up because I was taking him beside me, so I had to really hold up to a certain standard. So it was a joy. And talking about the book, which you had asked me earlier sometime, the most research which or research or thoughts that I have brought together was about Maharajji's choreography. Maharajji, when he started dancing and where his parents left it, was really a form of solo dancing in the darbars and in some performances. But when he started teaching and when he started working at Bharatiya Kala Kendra's Kathak wing, he felt that if Krishna, the legend, the icon of Kathak, the presiding deity of Kathak, if he was dancing with his Sakhis in Maharas, so why should we not dance with many dancers alongside? So that was one dream which he wanted to fulfill. And then he went to Russia sometime in early 60s, maybe late 50s, and he saw the ball show, and then he saw the practice behind. He met the artists behind, and he said, he told us when he came back that, those dancers, a 16-year-old young new learner, new ballerina, is practicing with a 60-year-old professional uh, dancers and empress, and they're practicing together. because they said no, one has to keep fit the body, and there are so many exercises. Everyone is going on floor as a common person, as as just a dancer, whoever, whatever the age, whatever the status. So these things, Maharajji, all these memories, these things in his thoughts, brought back, and he started choreographing many compositions. And if I start to talk about his choreographies, it'll be again hours that I can talk. But he started with first. Kathak was not so popular in those days when we started also, or even before I started. uh, Actually, for that matter, in Delhi, any classical dance form was not so popular. Bharatanatyam, yes, a little. Kathak was very just about making, and Kathakali also. But gradually, of course, now Delhi has become a hub of all classical dances. So, to make people enjoy, understand, learn, see inside, Maharajji had started to choreograph these dramas on mythological stories, because everyone knows Krishna Radha, everyone knows Shiva Parvati, everyone knows Rama Sita, the Ramayana and Krishna and all these things. So through those stories, people would see. Suppose it was a Ravan character, he would do some paran, some fast bowl, and some strong rhythmic patterns. When it was Radha, he would use some very lyrical patterns to define the beauty and the grace of Radha. So through these experiments, he put these aspects in the audience's mind, that okay, so Kathak has an element of grace, Kathak has an element of virtuos, vigor, Kathak has movements, Kathak has footwork. Okay, these are, it's like, unless you taste something new for a child will be repulsive, but then gradually, when you start to understand and relish, then it becomes joyful. So similarly, the audiences were made to appreciate Kathak through these stories, the mythological and the historical. His very early days, he choreographed Shah Awad, which was the life story of Nawab Wajid Ali Shah of Awadh, Lucknow. And then he also did some other from Kalidas's stories, Malvika Agnimitram and Kumar Sambhavam and all those stories. So through those literary works, people started, because there was a little literature with some words, some songs, which helped them to understand the situation, the story. And then they started accepting, and then gradually the group dances of abstract themes. And here again, Maharajji has excelled in his imaginations of what not. Let me talk about one or two at least. Once he choreographed something as an autobiography of an iron ore, a piece of iron ore, and how Maharajji felt that an iron ore was picked up by some wicked people and like made put in kin and then made into weapons, and people started killing using those swords and spears to kill people. And the iron ore was saying, I remember there was another small piece of iron, someone very noble picked that piece up and made a bell in it, and it is still hanging in the temple and giving so much joy to people. So that iron piece, which became weapons, said, did I want to become this? I did not want to become this. I wish I had lived a more peaceful and a more beautiful life like that bell. So what encouraged Maharajji, what inspired him was, at a time when people were being forced into doing terrorism maybe, or certain other wicked evil things, and many a times they would not reveal their identity, their faces, and they used to say, we were picked up from our houses and forced into doing what we are doing today. We did not want to become evil as night. So that, from there, he brought up this story. Then again, he did a story on, it's called File Katha, the story of a file in a government office somewhere in a small office in India, where it was years and years and years passed by. A few hundred rupees, one guard, one chowkidar was supposed to was requesting for a raise in his salary, and it never the bosses never got time to sign his appeals, and finally that file tears apart, becomes old, and it tears apart and falls off. So he said, file Kathan. Then through that file, there was a typewriter, as if the boss is dictating a letter, and he would say in Paran, and the typist would instead of the fingers would do this with the feet. He's mocking the fingers, but actually he's doing it with the feet. And then Maharaji would, again, it's like a jugalbandi of parant and footwork. So between the dictator and the typist. Or it would be a discussion of a compound, a playground to be done. So he would go lengthwise, a tree or a pond here. So all those shapes he would bring about in discussing a lawn, a ground, a playground. So, and then once the officer was just about to sign, and his junior came running and said, "Oh, please close the doors, please close the office. There's a big parade going. There's they are really angry. There's a jalouse going, and they are wanting to break the window panes and all." So there was a window pane, and people were crossing that window pane from behind, just being seen. And Maharaji used Dan dikita ditta 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 Dan dikita ditta. The chorus would say ditta ditta, as if they're doing slogans. Dan dikita ditta 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 Dan dikita ditta. So through his bowls, he was bringing out every little type of feelings which the audiences. And then he did another one. There were so many. Editing. His film was being edited. His biopic, his documentary was being edited, and it was spool time in those days. So in the spools, they had to go reverse, and then the images would go back and forth, like rewind and fast forward. So we were all trained to do fast forward and then rewind. So all the chakras we would do straight, and then we would do ulta. Then we would do palta, sida, and then we would go. So at one point, the sound did not match. The soundtrack and the film was not matching. So he said, okay, go back, we have to match it again. So all the stones are being picked up. All that was thrown is coming back. The matkas which were broken is again building up. The people who are coming in front are retreating, going back. So we really practiced for 2-3 months to practice on the wrong sides. Right side dancing is okay, but wrong side dancing was so difficult. But from the minute we came on stage, people were going head over heels, laughing and enjoying the whole show. So it just came to him from seeing his film being edited on a editing board. So Maharaji has made, and all his tihais and his what is oral, what is rhythmic, what is calculation, he has put meaning behind it. He has made it visual. It has become like a visual poetry. All these rhythmic patterns. Why don't I show you one or two from these?
I was just going to say that Maharaji has almost patented this way of creating a 3D painting of a sound, a 3D painting of an aroma. He has this ability. So yeah, we would love to be able to see some of that firsthand.
I've spoken a lot, but just one or two tum karo, and then I'm also going to add on to one thing. आप लोग वो करिए, एक करिए nature. One where you show the clouds, the rain, the lightning, and the raindrops. Da, then na, then na na, then na na, then da, then da. Da 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 da. Da 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 na na da na na da na na da da da. Bane 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 da bane 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 da 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 bane na na da da na da 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 bane 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 da bane 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 da okay, now again from nature, but the fall of leaves. Da din din 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 So that's okay. Horses galloping. Da din din da din din da. So these are now. Let me show you one small composition. Just I will speak about it mostly. It's like as if you are playing hockey. Da din din da din din da da din din da 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 din din da din da din din da. Every jump da, every jump da, every jump da, dina 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 dina. Every jump da, every jump da, every jump dina 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 da. Every jump da, every jump da, every jump dina 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 da. Pura pura. Nabi da, da, so coming to the sum, but with that joy of rhythm. Okay, one more, which is very interesting. I would like to perform. It's very complex. The bowl is very difficult, but I will tell you what the story Maharaji weaves around. There are two gaps. The audience, if there are dancers and musicians, will realize that one long gap and one short gap. The fun is using those gaps to signify some characters. Da din din da din din da. Da 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 din da da din da din da din da. Din da da din da da din da da din da da din da da. Da 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 din da da din da din da din da. Din da da din da din da din da din da da. Da da din da da din da din da din da. It is very difficult. So the first gap is one dhana dhadin, and I'll say it in the mood that Maharaji has made it into. He says it's as if it's a friendship between a Sadaji and a Japanese little petite girl. So, da din din da da din din da da din. Oh, da da din da din da tika da din. Hey, tika kata da din da tika kata da din da tika kata da. Da da din da. Din da tika da din. Hey, tika kata da din da. Tika kata da din da tika kata da din da. Oh, da da din da din da tika da din. Hey, tika kata da din da tika kata da din da tika kata. So all these are so interesting. I mean, how and so many more he has created over the every time he says I can see le. It's not only the calculation, it's of course joy, oral pleasure, but I can visualize it. So every little thing he creates, he has a story behind.
That was superb. That was absolutely superb. I'll hand over to Chandradi. She's got a fantastic question to ask you. I'm really looking forward to this bit. So Chandradi, let's hear your question.
Didi, this is just mind blowing. Seeing you here on Kalakar's platform, honestly, it's only with my guru's blessings it was possible. Otherwise,
I am feeling that
it was not
really
possible
dancing in her presence, in their presence, and they are blessing me also.
Thank you. Before we go to the next question, please let me just read. We have audience from all over the world, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, from America, from UK. Everybody's watching it today. We have Sudarshan Dash, Shucharita Datta, Nayanesh Mehta, we have Avtar Lota, we have Sangeeta Sinha, Trishna Kumari, Hindol Mojumdar, we have Simpi Arora, Ruchika Visht, Dodul AR from Bangladesh, Rupa Bhattacharya, Sanju ji from London, Imtiaz Ahmed ji, Arya Vanand, we have Nikita Thakrar, Kanchan Bharadaj, we have so many audience, Jaimini as well. So many people are watching it, Didi, and I'm sure they are all enjoying it as much as I am doing, and I'm sure Indrani. Didi, we were talking about all this, but there is something very special me and Indrani was discussing, that was Shatranj Ke Khiladi. And Maharaj ji as a choreographer. Yes, Indrani, if you could show the picture, let me just do it. Yes,
yeah. This is Shatranj Ke Khiladi, the group choreography, and the one where Maharaj ji is showing me some action.
Yes, Didi. If you could please share the experience working with Satyajit Rai and Maharaji as a choreographer and you, because this is a milestone, isn't it? Shatranj Ki Khiladi, your performance.
That was actually Dada's first and I think only film which he did in Hindi. And of course, Manik Diamond, who can even talk about his genius is par beyond words, par excellence. And of course, in Bengal, we all respect him so much. So it happened that he planned to do this film as a historical, beautiful film on Wajid Ali Shah. And immediately he thought of Maharaj ji because he thought no one else would be able to give him the right input. It's like almost from the horse's mouth because Maharaj ji's family had served the court of Nawab. And the house which he was living in those days was also given by the Nawab Sahab and their family. So for 2-3 generations, I think over 2-3 generations of their family and Maharajji's family, they had close equations and contact, and Waziri Shah almost respected his grandparents as his guru, and he used to uh, like give the respect, bow towards them when they came to the court. So when Dada wanted to do this, he said, Maharaji, you have to guide me, especially in the darbar scene, when as if he's watching a performance. What kind of a performance would he watch? Would he like to watch? And what what quality of work did he appreciate? So all those things. So over 2 3 days they were discussing so many tumris, so many dadra tumri and such compositions which were more appropriate for that scene. And then Dada finalized on Abharvi, which has happens to be the song which I did. And then Dada said, okay, I want a very young fresh face to do this role. And I don't know how, 2 3 years ago, he had seen me dance like a 5 minute piece at the film festival, which he was always the jury for in India, in Delhi, the Gyan Bhavan. I had performed through the Kathak Kendra, but he remembered it. And he didn't know my name, he didn't know nothing, but he knew that he wanted that girl. So he kept saying, Maharaji, Maharaji, I had seen one girl I have in mind. Can you show me some of the good students? So Maharaji showed all of his professionally good performers, seniors. But Dada was like, no, I have someone else in mind. And for 1 or 2 days, he kept inquiring. And then once he said, do you think you have a Bengali student who performed 2 3 years ago at some place? He even forgot perhaps. So Maharaji said, yes, I have a Bengali student. She is not a professional dancer yet. She is a college student. She comes to me 1 or 2 hours in the evening. So Dada said, okay, can I see her? And then there I was, I mean, in my almost half messed up torn clothes, perhaps from college. I came in and Maharaji said, okay, this is the girl I think I can think of. No one else performed recently. So Dada looked at me and said, Ei to, pechi, eitake khujchilam. I said, Dada, and seeing Manikda, my God, I was like trembling. I said, Maharaji, Manikda, pranam, pranam. He said, Nahi, tu amar cinemaয় নাচবি. I said, my God, what? Cinema don't, my God, what a privilege, but my parents will never allow me to dance. I am dancing just because I love it. Oh, yes. And then he said, no, 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 take me to your parents. Ekkuni chalo. There was no mobile in those days. So, Gari Maharaji's car, we sat into his car. He drove to my house, which was not so far away, 10 minutes drive. So, and then, of course, when my mother opened, she was near fainting, seeing Manikda at her doorstep. She said, stupid girl, why didn't you call me and say? I said, who at the time? He didn't even give me time to breathe. He was in the car and he said, chalo, let's go. And then he said, Bodhi, I'm going to take your daughter in my next film to dance a piece. You can't say no. My mother said, oh my God, that's too much of a statement. I can't make a decision. My husband is coming back from office, just from hospital soon. And then again, the same thing. My father said, oh my God, Mahida, but my family. So, however, he convinced, he said, I'm going to convince everyone we are good people. He said, I'm a good person. My team is a very good, decent team. You don't feel bad. You both come with your daughter to see what safe hands she will be with. So, yes, my mother went with me, and then I was I was in daze. He said, Saswati, you don't have to feel that you're dancing for a film. Even to Maharaji said, I want to do some fast chakkar. No, 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 no. You have told me Wajid Ali Shah always saw dance in a relaxed mood, tumris and melodious things appealed to him. So why are you thinking of fast things? I don't want to compromise with anything. Do exactly the way you think it would have been. So this Bhairavi, Kana Mein To Se Hari. And then he said, don't think you're dancing for a film. You just dance as if it's your stage. I will just make you do it 2, 3 times, and from various angles, cameras, I will take it. You just feel free. And there were so many people watching, from Utpalda to Apanadi to Swansu to Shomitoda to so many in the audience. I mean, seeing the shooting. So I was like in seventh heaven to see so many people watching me dance. And then when preparing the set, as they were changing a set, once I remember, we used to eat mushti doi together, breakfast, lunch together. It was great. And Amjad Khan, my God, the great person. And then one young, his team was sort of like a team for many productions. They were together many years. They were working together. So that boy, elderly boy, he was trying to put a nail on a curtain, but it was so high. He would jump. He would try. Then Dada stood up and said, "Hey, Chotu, is this your job? This is my job. God has given me my height because I'm supposed to be doing this." And that boy, no, Dada, no. How can you do this? This is my job. And he's a spot boy. He's supposed to be doing. না তুই কি করবি, এটা তো আমার কাজ, আমাকে ভগবান গাইড দিয়েছে দেখছিস না, চুপ চুপ করে বস। And he took the hammer, and I mean, he was as simple as that. So there was the connection between Maharaji and Dada Mani, the way they spoke from their heart, sharing ideas. When it was recording with Ruma Guhathakurata and Maharaji, Rumadi sang the chorus song with Maharaji in the group dance. And then Maharaji was singing his Karameto Sehari. Maharaji sang for 20, 22, 25 times, re-record. Then Dada called me and said, "Hey, Saswati, come out." So I said, "Yes." Look, he's a genius. I am also never satisfied with my work. Whatever I do, I feel there is still one little inch better. I could do it next time. So with him, he will never feel happy with his work. He will never feel content and convinced that he's done his best. So my God, my film will never be done. I have taken 25 takes. Now we can't wait any longer. It's beautiful. But he kept saying, "Na, Dada, थोड़ा एक और करूं." Said, "Saswati, this time when he sings, I will wink at everybody. The best take, I will say, we have to all scream that this is the best." So that's what we did. As soon as Dada said yes, we said, "Oh Maharaji, this is the ultimate. This is completely the best. Nothing better." Maharaji said, "Na, thoda sa usme jara sa ek word." No. This is the best. It can't be better. So he told, genius never satisfies on their own work. This is what I'm saying on Indita. Indrani, sorry. Many a times, our seniors or even people who have moved away from Maharaji, I won't name some people, no, but I can. Pratap Bhai once came back after a year or two, and he said, "Maharaji, आपने ये सब मूवमेंट्स इनका धाता का थुंगा का चेंज कर दिया, तो did we learn wrong, or are they learning different, wrong, or what?" Then Maharaji said, "अरे तो मैं क्या वहीं पे बैठा रहूंगा? I cannot stay where I am. I am always challenging myself. I am always critical about my own work, and I have to go beyond, and I have to think every time something new, something better. So I give myself challenges." So ye cheez, very few people really think in these ways, that Maharaji thinks, "No, that was not very good. I have to bring out something even better." A person of his standard, the ultimate, the last word, even now he says, "Nahi, abhi bhi bahut kuch karna hai. There's so much more to do. I have to make people realize that art is not just for the artists earning or fame, or no. It's beyond. It's like it is your existence. You have to feel it from here. It is." He always says, saints and all used to sing and seek the Lord through their song, through their dance. And that's what the purpose of dance and music was. It was to get that that moksha, that ultimate joy of being, the existence. So aajkal to everything has become very material, and dance is also like a commodity, as if to earn money, earn fame, earn so and so, and everyone is so much greedy about using the art for their own selfish ends, not enjoying it from within. And then Maharaj Ji says, मैं खुद आनंद लेता हूँ, मेरा गगरी, my pitcher is always full, मेरा आनंद का गगरी कभी खाली नहीं करता हूँ, जो extra flow करता है वो लोगों के लिए है, what spills out is for the people, but I don't drain myself out. I use my own joy through my work. So I don't dance for the audience. I don't dance for anyone. I dance for my joy, my inner self. So nowadays, no one looks at dance and music in this manner. Luckily, Chandra, when we were young, when I started, there was no, first of all, of course, my parents never wanted me to become a dancer. They were very unhappy that I left my medical career because I did not get an admission in Delhi. I was studying in Aligarh Muslim University. I was studying medicine. I did my pre-medical here and then. So that was, I say, a blessing in disguise for me, because I could not stay there, and I came back. I said, no more of medicine, Papa. I don't want to become a doctor. I want to just stay with some other. So I did my anthropology MSc, my graduation. But then dance was really, as I said, no one ever told me the joy, or no one ever told me what is within it. Just, and no one in my family ever had this before me, but it gave me so much joy and satisfaction to even dance on my own, to do riyaz on my own, because in those days there were no performances for us. Are performance for Maharaji was getting maybe 6 or 7 or 10 in a year, but that too from Kolkata and Bombay. Delhi had very few, maybe once in a year, or some other places. South mein to Kathak was not so popular. So if Maharaj Ji, such people, such greats were like dancing 10 times in a year, so we were nowhere. We were to like, so performing anywhere, television was nowhere in sight in those days. So it was learning for the joy of learning to know the art, learning for art's joy, like studies. You study, not the first day when you go, the first few years, you don't even, your parents can never say what you are going to become, where your interest is, and whatever. So that learning is so much fulfilling. So we were lucky that there was no hindrance, and there was nothing to lure us in those days. No television, no performance, no nothing. Bas dance karo, teachers praising you, ek tukda acha se bola, and the teacher, wah, bas, finished. That's the joy, that's the reward. So that was a much better way of learning and seeping inside, soaking into the art, which nowadays students, no, it's difficult to expect that from the people now, because world is so much faster, life is so much faster. But still, it is very unfortunate that these students of nowadays don't enjoy or dance for themselves. जैसे हम किताब पढ़ते हैं, when I read a book, it's for my joy. Kisne likha, why, who, what, the money is going to so and so. We don't think of that. We just think of the joy in this book which I'm reading, or the plants which are around us, the flowers, the birds which chirp. Do they chirp? Does the air breeze flow because people are appreciating? Does the river dance because there are people watching the river? No. It's the flowers blossom on their own. It's we who should take inspiration from such things that without this, the world would be totally rude and crude to live in. Without music, without all these arts, it will be very, very um, tor- tormenting to, because this is something which gives you real pleasure within.
Your mastery of emotion, abhinaya, can be seen back right from that moment in the film, when you yourself had not yet entered Kathak professionally. But then, of course, your journey became very much 100% fully committed into Kathak. And Kathak is a story of two halves. It's the
Yeah,
technicality and the emotion. The nrit and the nritya and the
yeah,
natya, all of it put together. Chandadi and I were discussing about Abhinaya and Kathak's Abhinaya, the colors and variations and landscapes of Abhinaya in Kathak. And I think Chandradi is a dancer at heart, obviously, we can tell. So she's got a fantastic question about Abhinaya for you. So over to you, Chandradi.
অভিনয়া আই স্টিল রিমেম্বার দিদি, মহারাজজির একটা ছোট্ট ইউটিউব ক্লিপ আমি দেখেছিলাম, সেখানে উনি বোঝাচ্ছেন একটা ছোট্ট কুড়ি, মানে গানের কথাটা হচ্ছে ছোট্ট একটা গোলাপের কুড়ি, সেটা খুব ছোট এখনো, সেটাকে মহারাজজি অভিনয় দিয়ে শুধু চোখে আর হাতে এত সুন্দর করে, মানে আমি হা করে দেখেছি, কত লক্ষবার যে ওটা দেখেছি, সেটা মানে
yes,
যে একটা ছোট্ট কুড়িটা যে ছোট, ওটাকে যত্ন করতে হবে, এত সুন্দর অভিনয়
yes.
ইজ আ বিগ থিং ইন কাথাক অষ্টনায়িকা। দিদি
If
প্লিজ
it does not touch the soul, then it becomes only an exercise. It
হ্যাঁ,
remains just an
absolutely,
exercise. If it
absolutely.
doesn't touch the soul of the viewer, there's no fun. And in Lucknow school, Maharaji's style and Maharaji's ancestors, the beauty was in the underplay, in the subtlety of execution. So it was not loud. It was very subtly done. Like there's a very famous story and a real story that once the Nawab challenged Maharaji's grandfather as to how he could define or demonstrate one single line of any poem, how many times, how many ways. And his grandfather said, I've never counted, but I can try and show you a few from few expressions on a single line, and not only a single line, one word, one phrase. Balma re chunaria maika lal rangade, just to define the word lal. He said, okay, I will try to describe lal without even saying, without using the color. It's about, if you see the morning sun, which has all that reddish glow around it, then the streaks of blood vessels when you wake up, and in the morning he's showing those blood vessels. He's showing a woman wearing the sindoor or henna leaves as she's applying in her hand, and it gives a reddish color, or she's eating pan to make her lips red, or she's plucking flowers and suddenly a thorn pricks and the blood which comes out is red. So in so many similes, she's looking at the fire, which she's fanning the fire, and where red flames come out of the fire, she's referring to those flames, and so many ways of showing siraf lal. And finally, Maharaji's grandfather said, it was like umpteen number of times. And finally, he said, let me end with the same line being sung by a woman who does not have any child, has not born a child. And she's praying to Balma re Chunaria Maika Lal Rangade. Balma, the beloved of all, Krishna. She says, Balma re, Hey Balmare, oh my beloved, oh my Lord, Balmare, Chunaria, this body is like a cloth in your hands. Chunaria Maika, Lal Ragade. Lal in India, in Hindi, they say for a son, Mera Lal. So she says a woman without that color is so devoid of any color. So, and the Nawab was so much in praise. He said, oh my God, what similes, where from where you've really built up this whole episode. So those are the things which Maharajji brings about. A little kajal in his eyes, and how he takes up a stick and jerks away the surma and applies. Or if he wears an armlet with a string, he how they used to just tighten it up, or even put some mehendi and uh, Kaun Gali Go Sham, all these hand lines become gullies. Or even when I teach my students the lighting of a lamp, suppose I keep a lamp and then I pour some oil in it and I'm striking a match. So even that, from the time that I put the matchstick and as it as the wick brightens up, the eyes should follow that light being awakened. So, all these beautiful things are so interesting to learn and watch and do.
Even looking at you, Didi, the the lamp, the lighting, মনে হচ্ছে সত্যি আমার চোখের সামনে একটা প্রদীপ জ্বললো, আস্তে করে তুমি দেশলাইটাকে সরিয়ে নিলে, আর oh God. Didi, how difficult or how easy it is to teach Abhinaya, because it's something, it comes from the heart.
Yes, that's why we always tell our students that you have to think of your surroundings, your experiences, your feelings, and imagine. आजकल के बच्चे, my God, they are so imaginative in so many other ways. बिल्कुल दुनिया भर का modernity में imagination है, and so we tell them to dwell inside, go inside, and bring out those memories of whatever they may have seen or felt, and think, contemplate on that. And once Maharaji had a student, very brilliant student from France, Veronique Azad, one of Maharaji's best students from abroad. There were 4 or 5, of course. And Maharaji used to tell her, she was doing something like perhaps Draupadi Vastraharan or whatever, and whenever she would take up her hand, she would go like that. Oh Lord. So Maharaji said, Veronique, what are you saying? She said, oh Lord, bless me. So he said, don't say that. As soon as you say, oh Lord, you're picking up your elbows and going in that way. Say it in Hindi. Hey Bhagwan, mujhe le lo, mujhko madad karo. So say it within yourself and look at an image. You may not pray to Krishna, but look at the image of Krishna and see the beauty in his eyes and on his face, and hear some of the episodes. So gradually, she was a little girl when she came to Maharaji, and gradually Maharaji developed her own inside thought to really do such beautiful expressions in times to come later. So yes, we have to make the students to emote from within. Then only it makes an impact on the audience.
Didi, would you say that Abhinaya and what Kathak brings to our lives through Abhinaya, would you say that it's still relevant to a completely fresh generation who have yet to hear of the word Kathak, who have yet to discover the world of Kathak?
You mean the Ashtanaikas?
And Ashtanayikas, and from the Ashtanayikas, further exploration of one's own personality that hopefully can come out in Abhinaya. What is the relevance today for today's brand new generation who are social media passionate, you know?
Yes. Look, what was in those times still is there today. We should not. Sometimes people say, "Oh, why are we with Krishna Radha's stories?" But what was in Krishna Radha's time, that playfulness, that teasing, that adolescence love and play and pranks and mischief and all that is still there nowadays. But to talk about a girl and a boy liking each other or loving each other or playing little playful pranks with each other. Um, Perhaps Krishna and Radha, when we talk about these icons, it gives it a more dignity, a more grandeur to the thought. But like I would like to mention here, when we talk about these Naikas, and suppose it is a Khandita Naika. So, yes, there are Khandita Naika situations even today. When a woman sees the infidelity in her friend or her husband or her beloved, she feels depressed, she feels dejected, and she feels angry and pained and all. So, all those emotions which have been codified as from a time way past behind, but all that still exists nowadays. Uh, a beloved who has gone away to work for a long time, Proshita Patika, Dure Kothai, Dure, Dure, Tagore's songs. We have used on these Tagore songs or so many other, Basak Sajika. দে তোরা আমায় নূতন করে দে নূতন আভরণে. So, okay, let me up. I am a Vasak Sajika. I have to go to meet my, or as Abhisarika. Shan gagane ghor gan gat कुंज पथे सखी कैसे जाव अबला कामिनी रे साने गगने घोर घन घटा. So all these naikas which everyone, Tagore and so many other poets have so beautifully related to, Maharaj Ji has written such wonderful little couplets to define all these naikas. दूर गए मोहे पिया भुलावे एक पत्र न मोहे पठावे, अप्रोषित पति का. और आस लिए मैं रूप सजाऊं, आस लिए मैं रूप सजाऊं, वासिक सजी का आए पिया मैं भाग्य मनाऊं. So all these poetry, Maharaj Ji has written, my God, umpteen number of poetries of all kinds, of humor, of pain, of joy, of God, of woman, of eyes, of nature, what not. We are going to bring out his book very soon of hundreds of poetry that Maharaj Ji has written, and which we always so much, we perform so many a times. So Maharaj Ji is a genius unparalleled. Really, it is a statement I would like to underline. How many people do we know in India or even across borders all over the world who is gifted and matured in so many genres of art? Like, he's a vocalist unparalleled, an A-grade singer from the radio. He plays the drums, all kinds of percussion instruments, in ensembles with Russian Bohor drummers, with American Dance Festival. He played with Congo Bongo drummers. He played with Zakir Hussain ji, with Pandit Kishan Maharaj ji, Shanta Prasad ji in Tal Vadya Kacheri. He writes poetry, as I said, umpteen. He is painting nowadays, my God, hundreds of canvases he has painted, and we're coming up with a festival very soon in next 2 weeks, where the icon will be, the subject will be Maharajji and his multifaceted, but in every day there'll be a topic and other people will be sharing that topic in through poetry, through music, through dance, through painting, through everything. So he is a symbol of a Mahanayak. That's what they used to call such people, Nayak. So, and besides all this, he's so humble and so giving and so loving. Anyone, anytime, Indrani knows so well. Anyone go and ask Maharaj ji, मुझे थोड़ा सा ये सिखा दीजिए, मुझे ये ताल नहीं समझ. हाँ, how he'll be as if he'll be blessed that so and so is coming. He'll feel so happy कि कोई आ रहा है मुझसे सीखने के लिए. He will feel the joy more than the student. I mean, that's truly, I'm sitting in the hall. It's not a made up statement, but it is true. He feels the joy of teaching rather more than the student feels the joy of learning.
And actually something that
শাশ্বতী দি তুমিও তো তাই, তাই না?
Sorry?
আমি বলছি যে তুমিও তো ঠিক তেমনই।
He's in Delhi.
Actually,
but he worked most of his life from Delhi.
Yeah, I realized one thing very early on when I met Saswati Di and Maharajji. They both have many things in common, but the thing that will really hit you if you meet them both sitting next to each other is that actually Maharajji is still a little boy and Saswati Di is still a little girl. And they have the most amazing
I'm truly blessed to have a maestro, a guru of such standards, such humbleness, so much modesty, and so much to give. Really, people have exploited sometimes, just learned and walked away and made people to believe that they have created so and so things. But he doesn't care. He says, as long as they are doing good work, I'm happy. They may say it's their work. That's fine. They should do good work. Art should be presented in a nice way. And in Indiani, I think is almost 2 hours that we've
almost 2 hours. Yeah, we're winding up. So, Didi, we'll leave it to you how you'd like to end. If you'd like to show us any particular live Gadbhav or Abhinaya, that would be beautiful. Or if you have some final words of wisdom and advice for those who are pursuing.
Okay, I will ask my bachas to play a little bit of my Shatranj Ki Khiladi song, which I will perform. Thank you, friends. आप लोग पूछ सकते हैं, but I'm winding up in 2 minutes. Okay, so that was a little bit of, I don't remember what I actually did in the film, but yes, it was a great experience.
Didi, it was just amazing. I wanted to read the comments, but there are so many comments. Let me just read a few at least, because people from all over the world, they watched you dance like, oh, Gita Upadhyay is saying that Saswatiji's demonstration of the lal and the diya brought back such wonderful memories. Thanks to Saswatiji.
Thank
Alpana
you.
Rai is saying beautiful program, enjoying a lot. Paras Verma, thanks to Chandradi and Indrani for organizing this. It's our pleasure, and I'm so excited. I can't tell you how many times I will watch it after this, the recording. I will keep
Thank
watching
you.
Shashwati,
Yeah.
especially the
Thank you
Abhinay
very
and all of that. Sid Kargupta from Mumbai, Labuni Borua, Labuni বলছে মন মন্ত্র মুগ্ধের মতো শুনছি। সত্যি শুধু দিদির কথাগুলো
much.
শুনতেই আমরা কত কিছু শিখলাম। দিদির সবচেয়ে বড় যে আমি শিখলাম আজকে যে মহারাজজি যে বলতেন যে
Uh,
কিছু জানে না তাকে শেখানোটাই হলো আসল গুরুর কাজ। আমি অনেক অনেক বড় কথা এটা। আমরা যা শিখলাম দিদি, তোমাকে অনেক 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 ধন্যবাদ। আমি কি ধন্যবাদ
my
দেব আর?
parents really gave me that understanding that art, you have to, if you want to be in the art, you have to love it. Don't do it for anything. I used to, they never encouraged me to take any money for whenever I was performing, because yes, for God's grace, I didn't need it. And then they said, you have to keep it for yourself, that art can't be sold against money. Yes, you need the money, but you cannot sell it. So, yes, with my gurus, both my gurus and my parents, between them, I have really had a very, very wonderful um, life in my career. And I am happy that I'm able to give whatever little I can to my students in through my teaching. So, yes, thank you very much, Chandra. Thank you
দিদি
very much.
প্রণাম নাও, প্রণাম নাও। খুব শিগগিরই দেখা হবে লন্ডনে আশা করছি। তখন আরো
Okay,
অনেক কিছু শিখবো, আরো অনেক কথা শুনবো।
thank you. Thank you. Namaskar. Bye. Love you. Bye.
বাই বাই।
Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you.
থ্যাংক ইউ দিদি। Wow, that was amazing, isn't it, Indrani?
Yeah,
What an
I think that can probably join one of the top events during our Guru Shishya Parampara. They've all been amazing, but I think that probably goes in the top 5.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's so much to learn, and the Abhinay is obviously Didi is famous for her Abhinaya, and but it's just especially I'm so thrilled, and it's really, it gives me goosebumps. The thinking that when I started this journey, I never thought that all these maestros would come together, share their experience, teach us so many things. So again, it's come to Guru, my Guru's blessings. অ্যান্ড আপ্পাজি যেরকম শিখিয়েছিলেন যে ওই গানের লাইনটা বারবার মনে পড়ছে যে থাকাতে না মুখে গুরু কারাতে বাড়াই দিদি, বারবার করে মহারাজজির কথাই বলে যাচ্ছেন, মহারাজজির কথাই বলছেন, মানে গুরুর প্রশংসা করতে পেরে আমি গর্বিত, আমার গুরুর কথা বলতে পারছি, এতেই আমি ধন্য। দিস ইজ হোয়াট রিয়েলি ইট ইজ, দ্যাটস দ্য গুরু শিষ্য পরম্পরা দ্যাট আই ওয়ান্টেড টু ব্রিং আউট ইন দিস সেশনস। So thank you to all my viewers, but we have not finished yet. We have seen Saswati ji. She's amazing. She is the আমি যে বলি কথকের শেষ কথা, শাশ্বতী দি মহারাজ জি। এরপরে এ তো গেল আমাদের দেশের কথা। শাশ্বতী দি being in India, of course she travels a lot abroad, she teaches abroad, she is in India, but the same tradition, the Guru Shishya Parampara, that riyaz, the dedication, that commitment, we also have here in London. That's what I wanted to present to you today. I have two fantastic dancers, two of my very close friends, Sakhis. One we already have here, Indrani Datta, and we also have Jaimini Sahai, who would be joining us soon in a minute. So we would talk to them, we would listen to their stories. They are born and brought up in this country, but Indrani travels to Kolkata to learn. She travels to Delhi to learn. And we will know from Jaimini, she being a mother of a little naughty girl, very pretty, very beautiful girl, and she is a wife, she has a full-time, very senior job. How do they manage? So that's something also I think we need to know, we need to learn, because obviously when we are in India, there is a mahol. We see our Guru every day. At times we stay with our Guru, as I did. And then we have the tradition going on. We have the concerts now, especially now in winter months. We have so many concerts started now, whether it's live or digital. But here in UK, we don't have that mahol. But there are few people very dedicated, very committed to their art. They are continuing with this journey, and that's what I wanted to present. So let us welcome very, very talented, very popular, and one of the sweetest person I have ever known, Jaimini Sahai. Jaimini, namaskar.
Namaste. Namaste. Hello, Chandraji. Hi, Indrani. How are you?
Lovely to see you.
So nice to see you. Oh, thank you so, so much. Chandraji, thank you so much for inviting me today to share tiny little whatever it is I know. Very, very grateful.
As I said at the beginning, Jaimini, Guruma used to regret that she couldn't dance. And she had long fingers. And she used to show me like that. Look at my fingers. If I wish I could dance. So that was her regret. So I thought once I wanted to celebrate her 90th birthday. Why not, have this Kathak? Yes, Siddharth is saying Indrani is also a busy lawyer and she dances with so much passion. Absolutely. We'll come to Indrani later on. First, we'll talk to Jaimini. Jaimini, please tell us about your journey. Having a daughter, you also have a very senior position. You work full time. You cook at home. You have a beautiful, neat and tidy house. Of course, our beloved, our favorite, Pandit Sanju Sahajji's wife. So you have a lot of responsibilities. So how easy or how difficult it is to manage all these together and continue with your passion, your love, your dedication to dance?
So the first thing I have to say is it isn't easy. It's a challenge, as women, we're playing multiple roles. We're doing various things. And I think for me, as I've grown, I've got better at managing. I've got better at my time management skills. Mm-hmm. It's difficult. Sanjana is 4. She'll be 5 in February. She's a full-time job. In itself, being a mother to a young child is a full-time job. I'm very lucky, actually. I'm very, very blessed because Sanjana is the type of child who completely absorbs herself in music and dance. So for me, I am very, very lucky. I'm very, very blessed. And I'm so grateful to the Almighty for giving her to me, because I think if I had a child who was not like that, it would be very difficult to find time for myself, whenever that time is, time for my own practice, time to just kind of think about choreography, think about, what I want to do and how I want to progress in dance. So I have to absolutely mention that she is a type of child who gives me that. When I'm practicing, she watches me. She wants to be involved, which is absolutely amazing. And sometimes I'll play the music. The piece I'll do, I'm performing a little later on. I played that music for her the other day, and she just got up and she just started dancing, and pretty much how I perform it, she danced it, So it's a wonder. But that's not to say that things aren't difficult. Things are challenging. I know, for example, if I have a concert and I have to be my absolute best, I know that to really get that time for myself, I have to either practice before Sanjana wakes up. So that could be 5 o'clock in the morning, where I have at least 1 hour for myself and there's absolutely no distractions. Or it could be after Sanjana's gone to bed. Now, the thing about her is, a lot of children would be in bed by 7:30, but not Sanjana. She's so active, she's singing, she's dancing, she's doing all kinds of things. So sometimes she doesn't actually fall asleep till 9 o'clock in the evening. Once she's asleep, that's when my time starts. So it's either first thing in the morning, if I really need that dedicated time for myself, it's either 5 o'clock in the morning, or it's either close to 9 o'clock in the evening on some days, And, sometimes, even with lockdown, we find ourselves working at home, working remotely, but even that presents a challenge. So, before, there's certain times to do certain things. So pre-COVID times, I'd find myself getting up early, you'd get ready. I'd get ready before Sanjana wakes up, drop her to nursery, get on the tube, go to central London, do my job, start early so that I could finish early, which means if I finish early, I can pick her up from nursery in time. But now, actually, in these kind of COVID times, we're sat at home, she's at home, it's Christmas holidays for her now. So sticking to a timetable really helps. And in that timetable, I get time for myself. And sometimes it is just, half an hour here and half an hour there. It's very, very difficult for me, challenging for me to kind of fix certain times that, okay, at 6 o'clock, that's it, I'm going to do 1 hour practice. It doesn't work that way. Once you have a young child, it's you just have to go with the flow sometimes. And that's the way it is. And I think I've got better at managing that. And apart from work, there's just so many other things, happening. There's online teaching, there's supporting Sanjuji in his work. There's obviously the work. I'm a wife as well. Get up, make breakfast, look after my family, making lunch, making dinner, mother, wife, professional, dancer, and just, on a day-to-day basis, just kind of juggling these multiple roles. I wouldn't have it any other way. It keeps me on my toes. I love it. Sorry, Chandraji, I'm not able to hear you.
Yes, you can hear me now. I'm sorry. It's just the microphone was in mute. That's the satisfaction as well, that you are still able to continue with your passion, with your, with your love and commitment to Kathak dance in this country, being born and brought up here. Now, I would like to know, you are obviously, as I was talking about the mahol in India, that's missing over here. So how did you start Kathak, and who did you learn from? Who are you learning from at the moment?
Sure. So my Kathak journey started in 1983. I'm from Leicester, born and brought up there. And I started in 1983. I must have been about 6 years old. And I started with Nilima Devi ji. who is still based in Leicester. And actually, I've got to credit my mother, because my mother, she loved dance. She just loved dance. But she was back in India, being brought up by her grandparents. She never had the opportunity to learn, especially classical dance. And she had quite an orthodox upbringing. And because of her upbringing, her grandparents, they had this kind of stigma about classical dance, as some people do, or some people have done. And, they used to say to her, no, we don't do classical dance. So she never had the chance. And she always had a wish that if she ever had a daughter, she would encourage her daughter, support her daughter, and try and push her to learn classical dance. So my mother was involved in like Ras Garba competitions and, folk dance at school, but never had an opportunity to learn Kathak. So it's because of her, thanks Mum, that I started. I was 6 years old. There was a centre in the heart of Belgrave in Leicester, and it was called the Belgrave Beheno Centre. And it was a ladies' centre, actually. And at this centre, there were various activities: cookery, knitting, painting, batik, and of course, Kathak dance. And that's where I first met Nilimaji. 6 years old, my mother used to take me there religiously twice a week each session was about an hour long. And she really pushed me initially. I mean, being 6 years old, I wasn't aware of what it is that I was doing. I was going to a dance class. I didn't really know what I was doing. It's because of my mother's encouragement. And then over the years, she kept pushing me. I kept going. And, now it's become a part of me. I think without the dance aspect of myself, I would be a totally different person. I mean, the culture that comes with learning dance, even some of the stories that we dance to, for example, some of the kavitas, some of the Hindu myths that we do Kathak to. I mean, I recite those stories to Sanjana now. So Sanjana quite easily can tell you Kali Adaman story, and it's part of my learning, because when I was growing up, learning about my culture, learning about my dance, it was exactly this that I was hearing. And my peers at school maybe perhaps wouldn't have known those stories. Markanchori, for example, perhaps they may have not known the depth of those stories. But I, thank God, and very luckily, was exposed to that. So it's kind of really shaped my personality. So I just kind of kept on with it throughout studies, carried on, throughout GCSEs, carried on, A-levels, carried on, always with Nilimaji. And actually, I'm so thankful to Nilimaji for the opportunities that I've had. And there's been some amazing opportunities. I think in 1993, I was only about 15 at the time. We, myself and 4 other dancers and Nilimaji, we actually spent a couple of months in Ahmedabad with Gumiben. And we were doing a production called Indradhanush, The Rainbow. And it was a beautiful Kathak production, about humanity and the chaos of humanity before we are enlightened by understanding who the Supreme is. So, my goodness, at 15 years old, it was such a learning experience. I have never experienced anything like that, and it will stay with me for the rest of my life. We used to get up early, maybe 5 o'clock. We'd go to Kadam. We would have maybe an hour of yoga first thing in the morning, kind of get ourselves prepared, learn a little bit of yoga. We'd go back to our hotel, freshen up, get ready, have breakfast, and go back to Kadam. And then the training would start. And it was so intense. We're dancing and learning and training at 15 years old for hours on end. And then we break for lunch. And then everybody has a little sleep. I mean, for me, being born and brought up in this country, that was a very different concept, because here in the afternoons, we don't tend to sleep, it's very, very different. So I learned so much. So we were there, we came back, and then we toured that production all over the UK. In fact, I clearly remember we celebrated my 16th birthday while we were in India with Kumi Ben. It was delightful, something I will never forget. And, we had the opportunity to perform this production at so many places. One particular place I remember very clearly was, I think it was Cambridge University. They were opening a department of Hinduism. And we'd been invited to perform this 1-hour production of Indradhanush. And we went there, and it was a very prestigious event, something as prestigious as opening up a department of Hinduism at Cambridge University. It was amazing. So yeah, I mean, alongside studies, it just continued. I never stopped. I kept going. And then I hit 18 and I went to university to do my degree. And Nilimaji very kindly put me in touch with Dr. Geeta Upadhyay, who I lovingly call Amma. She's been a mother figure to me. I was very closely involved and worked with Kala Sangam, South Asian Arts Organization based in Bradford. And Geeta ji was the CEO and artistic director of Kala Sangam. So again, throughout my studies, while I was studying and doing my degree in a different place, I was in Sheffield, didn't know anybody, you're making friends. But my saving grace was that I was with Geeta ji, I was with Kala Sangam, and through that organization, I had so many opportunities, to perform and run workshops and also be part of workshops. And in fact, Saswati Didi was there. I think it must have been 1994 or 1995. And she came to Bradford. And my current guru is Guru Pratap Pawarji. And Guruji was there. Saswati Didi was there. My now husband, Sanjuji, was also there. And actually, that's the first time I met Sanjuji. So Guruji and Saswati Didi were performing in Bradford for this beautiful production. And actually, after the performance, we had a chance to spend some time with Saswati ji. And she taught me a beautiful Krishna bhajan, which, yeah, I still remember that lovely day. It was just amazing, to be in her presence and just seeing her today. And just, I guess, in these COVID times where sometimes we feel as though we lack motivation, sometimes we lack. Well, I do anyway. Sometimes I have my moments where, I do feel down and it's like, what's happening to the world? And then you see somebody like Saswati Didi and you hear those words of wisdom.
Absolutely.
And it just uplifts the spirit and just enlightens, and it's food for the soul, and it just lifts you up again. It's exactly what we need. It's exactly what I needed. Yeah, sorry, I'm going on a little bit.
Thank you, Gemini, because obviously this is what we wanted to hear, that, as you said, at times we do feel down, especially this time, this year has been really difficult. So many people, we have lost so many dear ones due to COVID and other things. And it's just, this is the year that, you can feel that, where are we going? What is there? But then we have our music.
We have our music.
We have our absolutely wonderful, the soul, the tal, lay, you have all that. So,
it's an absolute saving grace. And I have to also say, for me, quite selfishly, that I'm married to Sanju Sahaiji. Just sometimes listening to him play, listening to him practice, sometimes that's all I need. Or sometimes it's just so uplifting, listening to the sound of tabla, listening to him just playing, it's just beautiful. And actually, I'm so blessed to wake up to that sound, to have that sound in our home. It's wonderful.
I'm sure. Gemini, I'm sure that all the audience, whoever is watching you from all over the world, they would love to see you perform a little bit of piece, whatever you would like, just to my Guruma.
Absolutely. I'd actually like to dedicate this piece to Sunil Kothari ji, who
Yes.
we found out today
Away today.
unfortunately passed away. So we woke up to that news and it was very, very sad. So I'd like to dedicate this piece
Sure.
to such a great legend.
Mm.
A little bit about the piece. It's a piece that touches my heart. It's such a fierce piece. It's my humble attempt at this piece. It's called Damaru Harakara.
Acha.
It was a recording we did a little while ago. I'd just like to mention the musicians. On tabla, of course, we have Sanju Saiji. On vocal, we have Kirat Singh. We have Debbie Priya Sarkar. On vocal as well as sitar. We have Gurbaksh Singh Matharu on Tarshanai. And we have Anil Sandhu doing Padant. So I wanted to mention their names. Please forgive any mistakes. It's just my small, humble attempt. Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry, bear with me.
यस्यां तेज विभाति भूधर सुता देव परा मस्तके भाने भान विभोर गले करणा यस्य रसे ज्ञानरसत सोऽयं भूतेऽपि भूषणः सुरवरः सर्वाधिपः सर्वदा सर्वः सर्वगतः शिवः शशिरिवः श्रीशङ्करः पातु माम् श्रीशङ्करः पातु माम् श्रीशङ्करः पातु माम् जटात भीगलज्जल प्रवाह पाहि कष्टले गले वलम्बिलम्बन् भुजङ्गतुङ्गमालिकम् दमद्दमद्दमद्दमद्निनादमद्दमर्वयम्
चकारचन्द्रकण्डवन्तनोतु न शिव शिव चकारचन्द्रकण्डवन्तनोतु न शिव शिव चकारचन्द्रकण्डवन्तनोतु न शिव शिव ॐ नमः शिवाय डमरू हर कर बाजे बाजे डमरू हर कर बाजे बाजे डमरू हर कर बाजे त्रिशूल हर कर भस्मयङ्ग त्रिशूल हर कर भस्मयङ्ग यार माला गले बिराजे यार माला गले बिराजे डमरू हर कर बाजे बाजे डमरू हर कर बाजे टी टी नाद रे ना ना टी ताद रे ना रे ताद रे तक देख तक देख तक देख ता ता देख तक देख तक देख तक देख ता 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 देख तक देख तक देख तक देख ता ता कांदा देख तक देख तक देख तक देख ता 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 देख तक देख तक देख तक देख ता 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 देख तक देख तक देख तक देख ता ता कांदा देख तक देख तक देख तक देख ता 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 देख तक देख तक देख तक देख ता 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 देख तक देख तक देख तक देख ता ता पंचवदन पिनाकधर शिव पंचवदन पिनाकधर शिव पंचवदन पिनाकधर शिव वृख भवाहन भूतनाथन वृख भवाहन भूतनाथन वृंदमंडल सवन सोहे अनादि पूरख अनंत हर हर अनादि पूरख अनंत हर हर डमरू हर कर बाजे बाजे डमरू हर कर बाजे टी टी ना रे ना रे टी ना टी पा रे रे ना चल तक तक ता 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 डमरू हर घर बाजे त्रिशूल हर कर भस्म अंग काल माला गले विराजे डमरू हर घर बाजे डमरू हर घर बाजे डमरू हर घर बाजे बाजे डमरू हर घर बाजे ओम नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय
Thank you so much, Jamie. That was absolutely wonderful. Let me read some comments. I have audience watching us from Bangladesh, from America, from Tanzania, and of course from London, India, everywhere. Shruti Raj Verma is saying very graceful. Dodul AR, praiseworthy performance. Love to see. Priya Tiwari is saying, aha, mesmerizing performance. Davinder Lamba ji is also promoting this event as he always does as a supporter of Kalakar to all other people worldwide. Thank you so much, Davinder ji, for your support. Anurekha Ghosh is saying it's such a beautiful composition. Indeed, it's a beautiful, beautiful composition. We have Shruti Varma, we have Avatar Lota, Nayanesh P. Mehta, Sheila Maharaja, Anjana Das, of course, Geeta ji. Geeta ji, lovely to see you here. Geeta ji is saying, Gemini, such a graceful dancer who brought such beauty and grace to the Kala Sangam stage and will always be a daughter to me. We have Raja Dhirendra Chutani, Sheila Murjaria, Trishna Kumari. We have Siddhkar Gupta. So many people are watching. And thank you, everyone. As I always say, Kalakar brings you the best and only the best. We don't compromise on the quality. And as you can see, Jaimini being born and brought up over here. Such a graceful dancer, such a talent. And she, whenever we have worked together, we said that, well, we wouldn't fix anything. We'll just do it on the stage. It's a spontaneous thing. And that's what, that's why I think Jaimini is such a powerful dancer, is with her, the spontaneity. Spontaneously, she can do things. Not like 1, 2, okay, I'll do 1 after 2, I'll do 3 after that, I'll do 4 after that. Not like that. She does it on the spot as a spontaneous dancer.
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody watching who took the time, today, especially after watching just mind-blowing Saswati Di, and then to stay back and watch me. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you very, very much for everybody. And my humble attempt, Anurekha ji, absolutely, it's a very special piece, and please forgive me for any mistakes. It's a piece that really resonates with me. And the first time I heard this piece was a few years ago. And actually, November, it's Papaji's, Pandit Sharda Sahaiji's Barsi on the 20th of November. And actually, last year, we actually booked the Bhavan in London to do a Shraddhanjali. And I asked Sanjuji, I said, I'd love to spend some time and prepare this piece. I would love to present. Would it be okay, to present at Shraddhanjali? So we had a beautiful program put together, some of Sanjuji's tabla students, to create a Banaras Tabla Ensemble here in the UK. Myself dancing, some other people performing. Sadly, it didn't happen, but I am so grateful to the Almighty that somehow I still managed to do this piece, and for all the musicians that supported me in this piece, I'm very, very grateful. It's a very, very special piece, very, very close to my heart.
And thank you for presenting this to Kalakar, Gemini.
My humble attempt. Chandradi, you know me well. I consider myself a humble student of dance. I will always be an eternal student of dance. I mean, I just consider myself a tiny, not even a drop, fraction of a drop. I take inspiration from so many people. I spend time whenever I have time, watching my peers, other dancers, of course, watching Maharaji. I mean, what to say about him? I feel as though I have no words to speak about him. We know him. Taking inspiration, from him. Obviously, Saswati Di, taking inspiration from her, just watching her and listening to her and watching how she does abhinaya and trying to imbibe, some of that. Of course, my Guruji is there, taking inspiration and having him always encourage me. And I think I'd just like to take a moment to thank all those people throughout the years who've supported me in my journey, who've blessed me, who've wished me well. I think I have to touch upon something which I feel is quite important. From about from about 2012 to 2016, Sanji and I, we suffered personal loss. And because of that, what that does to a person, I forgot who I was, something I'm so passionate about and I love so much. I didn't feel as though I had it in me, to continue, because depression is such a thing, you don't feel good. Anxiety is such a thing. You don't feel good. You don't feel like you can pick yourself up and just carry on because of, what it is that we were experiencing. And actually, Chandraji, you know me very well. You were there for us at the time. But I think, again, I'm very blessed because having the support of Sanjuji, encouraging me and helping me to come back into dance and helping me find myself again and bring that joy back in life. I really, really, really owe that to him. And I have to mention, you can see these pictures in the background. Our Dadajis, these are our ancestors from the Banaras Tabla Gharana, dating back over 200 years, 300 years. I'm going to tilt my screen slightly so you can see some of the pictures that are not quite shown.
Okay, yeah, we can't clearly see, but yes, if you can just give us the names, that would be, I think, for the audience, would be good.
I'll just mention a couple.
Okay.
Over here, the very, very top picture, we have Bare Sahaiji, Pandit Ram Sahaiji.
Mm-hmm.
And actually the Banaras Tabla Gharana was founded by him in 1870. And the pictures are Dadaji's, the parampara passed on. We talk about Guru Shishya parampara. And all these Dadajis here, even though physically they're not with us, but actually their presence is all around us. We honestly feel that. Before we started this session today, I took their blessings because, you want the session to go well. I took blessings, always seek their permission, always seek their blessings. And actually, we always feel as though they're here.
Absolutely.
In our home, giving us their divine guidance. Yeah.
Thank you, Jaimini. You're Kathak Sakhi. She says you are her Kathak Sakhi, so I'd mention that. I would like to ask you some things. Over to you, Indrani. And then after that, I'm really eager to see another performance by Jaimini, if that's okay.
Well, the first one was scintillating. It had all the elements that I really love about Kathak. It had strong emotion, it had technicality, it had attention in there, and then obviously that ultimate sense of salvation, moksha. So it was a great choice, that first piece. And I'm personally really, really happy to see you perform it. And hopefully one day I'll be able to see you perform it, in front of a live stage audience, whenever that day is in the future. I'm sure we are heading towards it. I have a very interesting
I was
question.
just going to say, perhaps we can do it together one day. It would be
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Absolutely. I was being selfish and enjoying you doing all the beautiful pirouettes and doing all of the gorgeous choreography. But yes, I don't mind rolling up my sleeves and joining you. Absolutely.
You're a beautiful dancer, Indrani. I love watching you.
Thank you. And I really enjoy the fact that we share a very strong connection with two very complementary gharanas. That's something that has a special bearing for me, because even though I obviously have a link towards Kalka Binda Din Gharana, I am still very much a huge fan and appreciator of our sister and brother gharanas. So that would be wonderful. I had a very interesting question for you, which I think as a fellow Kathak dancer you might enjoy. So obviously with dancing, visualization is a big part of our lives, and no matter what is happening in our daily lives, Kathak and the ideas that are flowing in our heads never really leave us. So can you think of a time where, while you were doing some very mundane daily chore that we are all stuck at home doing, you have had this amazing idea, and you thought, how did I think of that while I was brushing my teeth? Or how did I think of that, while I was clearing up the kitchen? Has anything like that happened to you, especially as we've been stuck at home, for months?
Absolutely. I mean, let me give you an example of this piece. So you think about the power of this piece. It's Shiva, it's Damaru, Ganga, fire. Oh my God, all of these, things that we're trying to express. And then it got me thinking, well, actually, Ganga Maya. How did Ganga Maya come from heaven? How did she end up in the jata of Shivji? What's the whole story behind it? How did she come to earth? And it's funny how you think about one thing and it just leads you, as you say, it just leads you to various other thoughts. So I got thinking about all of that. And then the next thing I did was read upon that, because I didn't know the story about how, she came to earth and what the reason was behind that. So yeah, and it's one of these things where, I was concentrating on this piece, but I might have been doing the washing up. And then that thought just kind of clicked and thought, right, there's something in this. I need to explore this and maybe do something with this later on, at some point. But if the thought came and if the inspiration came from somewhere, it might have been like washing the dishes and water. And that made me think of Ganga Maya. I don't know, it could be. But I'm a true believer of if something comes to you, that spontaneity to do something with it, to do something about it. So the fact that I took that thought, I will do something with it, I hope.
Yeah. I think our daydreaming qualities are something that we sometimes take for granted, but definitely during this year, we have had a good chance of giving those daydreaming muscles a proper workout.
Absolutely. Actually, Indrani, I mean, we talk about the challenges of, having these dual lives, these multiple roles that we play. But one thing for me that has actually been a positive, I mean, the family time you have, there was never going to be a chance that we'd have such quality family time. And, in between work, I mean, I work as an IT professional. I work as a delivery manager. I run delivery teams that consist of, developers, testers, business analysts, product owners. And together, we build out mobile apps. I mean, that's what I do as my day job. And yes, we sit at home, working remotely. But actually, for me, I have managed to find the time. It might only be 3 times in the week, but I am managing to find the time for me. So I'm able to kind of go within. I'm able to go through all of Guruji's past teachings. I mean, I started my training off with Nilimaji in Leicester, but from 2010, after I got married, I moved to London. I met with Guru Pratap Pawarji. I became his student, and I've been with him, and he's been teaching me and I've been learning, and he's been guiding me. So it gave me a chance to kind of dig through my old material and revise that, and some of these things, sometimes you tend to, what I do with all the other things going on in life, sometimes you forget some of the earlier, things that we've learned, some of the earlier compositions, dukras, whatever it may be. So actually it's given me a chance to kind of go within, dig out all of that again, revise it, practice it, and actually kind of dig deeper into it. So when I learned it, maybe 5 years ago, whatever it was, I was a particular person then. 5 years on, I've become a mother. I'm a different person now. And it's funny, actually, because as you kind of progress with your journey in life, picking up various things, it does really shape your personality and your character. So I think what I was doing 5 years ago is very, very different to what I'm doing now. And touching upon those past things, I can do it in perhaps a better way, perhaps in a slightly different way, but maybe it kind of resonates a little bit more. Yeah, just a personal thought, really.
Yeah, I had one other interesting question, which is again quite unique to the visual art form, and particularly as Kathak dancers, I think it's relevant now because we don't just talk about people's gender in the form that they have taken on or the sexuality that they have taken on, but now there is a fluidity, or there's more tolerance for someone to actually find their identity or re-find themselves. And in Kathak, I always enjoy the fact that if you want to show Radha and Krishna or Shiva and Parvati, you don't have to rely on a second dancer.
No.
You yourself are Radha and Krishna, you yourself are Shiva and Parvati. So thinking about the modern times that we live in now, how would you say Kathak and this amazing holistic approach that it has can help modern life, modern thinking?
Well, I think from a personal point of view, absolutely, you touched upon, the topic of one person can play multiple roles. We're living in 2020. Our world is changing. People's perceptions are changing. We have different forms, different identities, people identifying with different identities, not the identity they were necessarily born with. And dance is such a thing because you can represent multiple personalities with just your being. It gives you that chance to what's the word I'm looking for? It gives you that chance to express in whatever way you want. And as you rightly said, one person, you can be Krishna, you can be Radha, you can be the male form, you can be the female form. And I think that, looking at it from a cultural point of view and the world we're living in, it helps, I would think. It would help with identity because you're not looking at dance as, right, it's a male and a female. You're playing different roles. So would it matter? Is it the end of the world? It isn't. It's how you choose to express yourself with the role that you're playing. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's one of the things that has automatically given us a very wide view of the world. And we never realized it. And it's almost like looking backwards and retracing our steps. And now we realize why we've become the people that we've become. And hopefully where we're going, and that ultimate destination. And hopefully we never reach that ultimate destination because what would be the fun?
I'm telling you, it's like, again, just this period of the last 10 months being at home, it's really kind of given me a chance to go within, do some soul searching, try and identify what my goal is. What do I want to achieve? I mean, from my point of view, God, I'm constant. I will always be a student. It's just, there's so much to learn, so much to do. And, whatever time we have on this planet, to talk with like-minded individuals, to share ideas, share thoughts, to grow as people and just grow and be the best version of ourselves. And we are so lucky that our music and dance enables us to do that. I don't come from a musical family. My father used to go to Indian classical music concerts, and I used to go with him. There's the appreciation for classical music and dance, but nobody in my family got a chance to learn, or did learn, formally. So I used to go along as a child. I used to go and listen to these concerts, and I think that's probably where my interest stemmed from at such a young age, having that kind of encouragement. And then obviously my mother, wanted to push me to do dance. And honestly, I think that if I didn't have dance in my life, what would I be? Just sometimes hearing a piece of music or hearing a piece that we've learned and just playing it, and the emotions that arise from listening to that, it just works wonders and feeds your soul.
It does. And I think our happiness quotient has gone up by quite a margin just from this evening, listening to all of the fantastic stories, and then obviously hearing the anecdotes and the history behind Kathak, and then obviously the modern lives that we're living, here now in the UK and in the West. So I'm so glad that, we've got this time together. I would love to see you dance more, as would Chandradi, as all of our viewers will. So I'll hand over to Chandradi. She may have a couple of questions for you later on, but let's hear
no, it was lovely to hear two Kathak Sakhis interested. Germany,
lovely to have this chit chat.
Yes, I know.
Mm-hmm.
I was so tempted to start a Tumri that you two have on the screen, and I can sing and just do it on the spot. But I thought, no, it's not the right time now. We'll do it some other time. Jamie, would you like to present something now for us?
Yes. So my second piece is called Jai Jai Jagajanani. So the first piece was Damaru Harakara Shiva. This piece is focused around Kali, female energy. It's a piece I've choreographed myself. The same with Damaru, actually. Just, again, my humble attempt at choreography. It's a recording, actually, that we did back in September for Brighton Music Festival. So we have the amazing Sanju Sahaji on tabla and the multi-talented Debbie Priya Sarkar on vocal and sitar. So again, please forgive any mistakes. It's just my humble attempt. And thank you again for watching. Okay. Okay, sorry for the delay.
जय जय जग जननी सुंदर भूमि असुर से कालिका जय जय जग जननी सुंदर भूमि असुर से हर हर कालिका सर्वरेश जग जननी जग जननी परम चरम पर कृपाण मूरशैल धनुष बाण पर कृपाण मूरशैल धनुष बाण कलनि पिताच प्रेत जग जननी जड़ सिंह जड़ गोर हरि भावत संत की चमक दुटी जामिनी नमांग मेरे मुख से गले माल अति सोहे रतन को वृंग शमकेश लटपट भुज दंड पर आनो आज मुख चंद्र को लाल लोचन भाई लड़ने की सुरन सुहास कबल पर चंड चंड चामुंड नटकी जयरात मई मारियो ब्रह्मादि इंद्रादि शनकादि देवा कृतधन्य जस गान गायो जय तु जय जय तु जय जय माँ शिवानी जय तु जय जय तु जय जय माँ भवानी जय तु जय जय तु जय जय माँ दुर्गे जय माँ दुर्गे जय माँ जय तेरी जय जय महेश भामिनी अनेक रूप नामिनी महेश भामिनी अनेक रूप नामिनी समस्त लोक स्वामिनी हिम शैल बालिका रघुपति पर परम प्रेम तुलसी यहाँ चल देव देह वै प्रसन्न पाई प्रणत बालिका जय जय जग जननी उदर मुनि दाई भर हरण पालिका जय जय जग जननी
Thank you so much,
That was brilliant.
Gemini. That was
Thank
absolutely,
you so
absolutely
much.
wonderful.
Forgive any mistakes.
That feminine energy
We
was
all,
amazing.
everybody is learning. We all are student. Even my Guruji at the age of 82, he used to say, "Oh, I haven't learned anything yet. I'm still a student." And the same with Appaji and Saswati. You are saying the same with Biju Maharaji. So it's never-ending process. We have to learn. We have to keep on learning
And
till
we
the
are,
last day, isn't it?
I think I consider myself very fortunate that we're living in such an era of such great legends who we can
Absolutely.
learn from, who we can be inspired by. We have some fantastic peers who we can watch, talk to, converse with, communicate with, and learn from each other. And I think that's such a special, it's such a special thing. It's such a special bond to be able to have those conversations here in London via digital platforms. It's phenomenal if you think about the technology that enables us to do that. So
No, I'm sure Jeremy, a lot of even some of my students say, "Oh, I'm so busy working, I didn't get the time to practice." And I always say, if you have a will, you will definitely find a way to do it.
absolutely.
So I'm sure listening to your story, being a mother, being a full-time in a senior position and a wife of a very busy musician, I think there are a lot of people out there today who would be inspired by listening to your story, Gemini. So, my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to you
Thank
for
you.
for making this evening so special. It's my Guruma's 90th birthday. And, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me to celebrate with you such an auspicious day. The very fact that this session is happening on Guruma's birthday is a blessing in itself. And, for us to be able to celebrate with you, be able to join you, it's a privilege. Thank you very, very much for inviting me today. And thank you once again to everybody who's taken the time out to listen to whatever little I've had to say. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you very, very much.
Emily. I'm sure we will see you very soon.
I
I
hope
can't
so.
wait. Long. At least I saw Indrani a couple of weeks back when we were performing together, but I haven't seen Jaimini and Sanjuji for a very long time. So I'm really eagerly waiting to
Yeah,
meet
we're all missing each other, and I'm definitely missing seeing, my fellow Kathakar. So I'm looking forward very much to the opportunity of actually seeing each other face to face.
Absolutely.
very soon. Thank you, Jaimini.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Indrani. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you to all our viewers. We are at the last segment of today's session. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time. Since the afternoon, we started the sound check. We had the sound check with Gemini, then with Indrani, and then with Saswati and the team. It's just, it was wonderful. I can't think of a better way of celebrating Mithunma's birthday today. So now we come to Indrani Datta, the very famous lawyer of London, and a Kathak, of course, a Kathak practitioner, she says. Indrani, I think it would be good to start with your performance, and then we can talk.
Sure. So I've chosen a very famous piece, which I found in your Guruma's voice, actually, which I thought would be quite appropriate. It is quite an old recording. I have a very strong love of vintage voice recordings, but I'm telling everyone this in case, you know, it's not as crisp and as precise as we're used to in this modern age. But it's a very beautiful piece, and I wanted to share it with you. So here goes. I hope you can hear it all. I'll just make sure that it is properly being amplified before I... Yeah. Maybe one day we can do this live because it's such a beautiful piece. Hope you like that.
Guruma would have been so pleased to see this. Thank you so much, Indrani, for choosing this. You know, this is indeed a very, very old recording, and this is beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you so much,
I hope
Indrani.
I can hear
Thank
you sing it live very soon.
Of course, of course. Now, let's talk about your journey. I know a little bit, but for our audience, just tell us. You are, of course, being a very busy professional lawyer. I'm sure it takes a lot of time, isn't it? And then practicing, being a student of Saswati Di, who doesn't know anything other than Kathak. So her student, of course, you have a, like you need to do your own practice. You need to attend the online classes. So please tell us how it all started and how did you, being over here, how did you become a student of Saswati Di? So I'm sure everybody would love to hear the journey.
Yeah. Well, the way Shashwati was mentioning how she started her journey, that initial stage was because of another brilliant teacher who then led her to meeting Maharaji. For me, it wasn't very dissimilar. So I started learning Kathak at the age of 4. I actually moved to India when I was 4, and I stayed there for 7 years. So I started at 4 and I continued for 7 years that initial training in India at Bani Chakra Academy. And my Guruji there was Guru Sumitra Mitra, who is a very renowned teacher in the eastern part of India. And when I came to London, back to my hometown, back to my home country, I was 11. And the plan at that time was to try and find a place to learn Kathak, to continue Kathak. And we didn't really know much about Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. It's now called Bhavan, but at that time it was called Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. And my parents came to hear of the Bhavan, the Institute of Indian Arts, and very much wanted me to join. So they took me there, and I think I must have been about 11 and a half when they took me to Bhavan. And I started continuing that basic training of Kathak. Kathak basic training lasts for about 10 years. So I was still within that first decade of learning with Guru Shushmita Ghosh, who then actually eventually became the head of Delhi Kathak Kendra. She now runs her own foundation, the Akriti Foundation. So I started learning with Shushmita Di, and I became quite aware very early on that Kathak was a vast subject. It was not something that you could learn the way you learn a degree course in 3 years or a PhD. It was something that was going to be a lifelong pursuit. And I think I must have realized that around about age 11 or 12. And I think I must have been about 12 when I met Saswati Di. So Saswati Di, by that time, had already started teaching, coming and running very intensive workshops in the UK, particularly in London. And there was a period of several years where she came every summer. And Bhavan used to run the summer school. They still do. And it was a 3-week intensive learning for 6 days a week. Not just your own particular specialization, Kathak, and not just your own particular level of Kathak, whichever you may be, intermediate, advanced, or masterclass, but also the other classes. So it was a very holistic training. And that's when I learned to appreciate the real breadth and depth of Kathak. And I met Saswati Di and just, completely fell in awe of someone like that. How can you not? And it was the beginning of that deeper kind of learning. And every summer she would come, and every summer I would make sure that I'd completely clear out my calendar. And of course, it's an easier thing to do when you're a full-time student, as I was in school at that time. And so spending 3 weeks doing nothing but Kathak seemed to be very natural. In fact, there was a lot of preparation before those summer courses. So the preparation would almost start from spring. So it seemed like all of those strong sunny months that we have in London would be very Kathak orientated. So my childhood was filled with sports and other things, drama activities and learning piano and all sorts of things. But they were all in one category, and the lion's share of the time was taken up by Kathak. And I was very happy about that, actually. I never thought that it could be any other way. So it came to my school finals, I was about 16, when we were thinking about whether or not I would take dance full time. I gave it some very serious thought. Even at that time, I was thinking way ahead about what I wanted dance to mean to me. And actually, something that Saswati said earlier in this session rings very true for me even now, which is that you can't sell your art. People can appreciate it, but you shouldn't put yourself in the position where you have to sell your art. And I thought the best way for me to protect my art and my love for Kathak was to find a way where I could nurture something else that I loved equally, but in a different way, which would support the Kathak. And so law seemed a very natural choice because I'd always been very interested in debating and public speaking. I'd always been interested in court life, in how justice was structured in different societies, particularly in India, being a former colonial civilization of the British Empire. And of course, then understanding the British Constitution. These things interested me from a very, very early age. I'm still deeply interested in how we live today according to decisions that have been made generations past, and particularly how those decisions have been embedded in the law. So I find actually the links between law and dance quite natural. In India, even now, there's a number of artists and dancers who are represented in politics, in the higher echelons of politics, which means that the visual arts form is highly recognized, and people who have appreciated it, dedicated their lives to it, and have become masters in their particular fields in the arts are truly nationally recognized through awards and Padma Shris and Padma Vibhushans, and also these fantastically, truly deserved political positions, because they do have something worthwhile to say. So the connection between the arts and law was something that happened early on. I could see that actually law would never be a clash with pursuing dance. But it did take some time when I was studying law, because it's a bit of an arduous business. It's several years of the degree, and then post-degree you have to do a lot of specialization. And I ended up specializing in banking and finance law, which then again takes a little bit longer. It did take me some time to truly find a balance. There was a period of a few years where I felt like I was fighting to find a balance in both of these fields. And that's just basically a lack of life experience. And as I spent more and more years in both, then I understood that actually I don't need to do everything at the same time. I can develop my areas of specialization in law incrementally and strategically, and the same way I can develop my areas in dance that interest me. So I have got very specialist areas in both law and dance. I am seen as a niche legal practitioner in the area that I specialize in, and same with Kathak. Not only is it that Kalka Binda Din Gharana itself is a specialization of Lucknow, that in itself puts me in a different category. But on top of that, I have a deep love of Shakespeare and opera. So I'm studying those as I'm studying Kathak, because writing is a big passion of mine, and I want to be able to create brand new pieces which bring in Shakespeare, Tagore, and all of this wonderful language of Kathak, and then of course my own language. So this is where I'm at the moment. There's a long way to go ahead, but I don't mind. I think it's going to make the journey quite interesting.
Very interesting to hear that, Inzani. Especially as I always think that, you are in this country, the weather isn't always helpful, and, the work pressure, we are away from our family. I know you have your parents here, but the rest of the family is back in India. So it is difficult, as Jaimini was also saying that being a mother of a 4-year-old little girl, and then her own job, so it's a constant struggle, but then you find the enjoyment within it. But I know that you also a very good teacher. I have seen your students performing. Now, how easy, but how difficult it is to keep them motivated, because they are even younger. Because I think your youngest one was 5, 6 years
Yes,
old.
yeah,
I have seen
they're
them
young.
performing. In fact, in Kathak's platform, one of them performed a few months back. So how do you motivate them? Because they have so many things nowadays other than Kathak. They have their piano, their violin, their this and that, their swimming. And, in school, they are engaged with so many other activities.
Yes,
And
there's a
computer
lot of
games,
competition.
mobile phone as well.
Oh yes, they all have their own phones. They all have their own iPads. They're probably members of several very exciting WhatsApp groups, which might be more exciting than a Kathak WhatsApp
Yeah.
group, understandably. And they are at a very young age, of course, where it might seem that everything is equally exciting, and it's quite difficult to discern the difference between a passion and a hobby. I think there is a big difference between something that becomes a lifelong passion and something that's a hobby which you can dip in and out of. So I'm actually quite choosy with who I teach. I always have been, not just because I'm not a full-time teacher. I think even if I was a full-time teacher, I would still be quite choosy. I am quite selective about who I'm teaching. They do need to come from a household, which they don't necessarily have to be Indian or Bengali, but they do have to come from a household which is going to be one where it will imbibe the culture that is needed to support Kathak. So that means that there should be music in the house, there should be poetry in the house, there should be an understanding and an appreciation. There should be always this openness of, let's see what you've learned, share with us, show us, what are you thinking? There should always be this infectious curiosity. And if that isn't in the household, that necessarily isn't a problem for me, as long as there is the willingness. Because with teaching a child, there is a background task of actually helping the parents also to take part in that. So I've got a few things that I've been doing over the years which have been working out quite well. So one of the things that I do is I hold writing workshops, which I don't publicize. So I'm not saying that they're secret writing clubs, but I don't publicize them. I don't take photos of them. I don't post about it, but they are writing workshops where I'm training my students to develop their writing skills. Because I am, as a lawyer, a professional writer. I get paid to write in a sense which is going to, in a structure and a clarity, which is going to make sense to whoever it is being aimed at. So actually writing for the arts is not that different. It's just not factual, it's fictional. That's the only difference. And sometimes if you are researching something, at the moment I'm researching Gandhiji, so that all of that is factual. And so my research assistants are actually my students. And they have all been given a separate topic and they are researching those. And when they bring them back, then comes the really fun part of creating new pieces. So who says that you can't create a kavit out of something that's English? Or how, to understand how you can make a ginti tihai, something that Maharaji has created. But there's no reason to create a ginti tihai, not to create a ginti tihai out of a subject matter which has nothing to do with Radha or Krishna. Just as the way Maharaji is doing, how Saswati was talking about these examples that he's picking about how a piece of iron can be either a sword or it can be a temple bell. So I use a lot of different workshop ideas. It has all become quite different in format because of a virtual teaching. Quite a few of the things I am now having to really replan because of virtual teaching. Because when I was having access to them face to face, the way I would teach would be very, very akin to how Shakespearean drama workshops take place and took place. So I use techniques from the Royal Shakespeare Theatre Company. I myself have performed at Edinburgh quite a few times when I was a student, and the hope is in the future for us to perform in Edinburgh again. And so that's my aim in mind, to get these children to each become a very talented and confident solo artist. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll become a solo Kathak artist. If it is, then wonderful. But if not, then they should find their own shape and content. And so that's what's happening in the background. And of course, what people are seeing is they are performing certain traditional Kathak pieces, or they are performing within my musicals, which I have been writing for them. So I've written a few musicals already. I think I've written about 3 or 4 for them, and there's more coming. But yeah, I think writing is a very important part. Just as Maharaji is so well known for his compositions, he doesn't see any limits. So if he wants to get up and write one day, he'll do that. If he wants to sing one day, he'll do that. If he wants to go for a walk, he'll do that. And I think that's very important for my students and all students to have that, you know, that unlimited, wide view of living your life, you know, in a daily way. So I hope I'm trying to make sure that they find interest in whatever art form grabs their attention. And I always say to them, never think of Kathak as a rarefied classical dance form. Think of Kathak as a magic key. It is a key that will open the door to anywhere you want to go. If you remember that, then you'll see how the world changes. So, and for me, that's an absolute true fact, because where I work in a very large international law firm. There aren't any Kathak dancers. I am the only one there. And they recently requested me to be part of a very important committee within the firm. And I did wonder why they asked me. And they said, well, because we've seen through the music, I'm a member of the music committee in the firm. And they said, we've seen through the music committee that you have something to say, which I think people will benefit from. And so if you have something to say, why limit it within the music committee? We want to make sure it's in a committee where everyone will hear it. And I was very touched by that, actually, because I hadn't really thought that anyone was paying attention, but they were.
Very, very good, very interesting, Indrani. And as well as I was telling Germany, that a lot of people out there and now hearing this would be inspired by your journey, by Germany's journey, and a lot of youngsters who are born and brought up in this country, they have never probably seen Maharaji performing on stage. They didn't get the opportunity. They didn't get the opportunity to go to that school. But listening to you or learning from you or Germany, I'm sure we can continue with this legacy. So it's really wonderful to hear that. I think it's time for another performance. I'm eager to see.
I picked something which I was thinking of another piece, but actually Saswati mentioned Kaun Gali Gaye Sham. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, oh, well, I have to do that. So this is another thing about Kathak. All dance forms and classical vocal forms have this aspect of improvisation. But Kathak as one of the 8 Indian classical dance forms has, I think, the largest percentage of improvisation in comparison to the others, at least from what we see. It may be that all of the dance forms have a very similar percentage of improvisation, but what is portrayed is that Kathak has more. So this is an example. I had made up my mind to do one item, but I'm now deciding at the last moment to do something else, because I think the mood requires it. I'll just make sure that it's amplified again. I think it should work now. Let's have a look.
Beautiful. Thank you, Indrani. Thank you so much. I think we had the most amazing session today, isn't it?
Yes, it was very special. We've had, I think, 50 or just over 50 Guru Shishya Parampara sessions.
We had
And
the 50th one last time. And on top of that, we have had few other sessions like, the Godsends, the musical masks, and a couple of ghazal sessions. So that was out of Guru Shishya Parampara. So I think almost nearly 60 sessions that Kalakar has organized so far since April.
yes, so I think today's one is probably quite high up there, actually, as one to remember, as one to review as well. We forget just how much the maestros and the real world famous doyens have still to teach us. And when you hear them just speak, let alone perform. I mean, performing is obviously something brilliant to watch and witness, but just to hear them speak is a lifetime's worth of homework, frankly.
Absolutely.
So it's been amazing, and I'm very happy that we managed to get all of so many generations together. We had Jamie with us, and hearing her story has been fantastic. And she's a real fighter, and she's got this fantastic positivity, and it's really special to see that, and how her art form is flowering. And a huge thanks to you, because it was your brainchild. I've talked about Saswati to you so many times, and I'm so glad that it was your brainchild, that you said, actually, you know what? I know exactly how to mark the 90th birthday of Guruma. And this was the perfect way to do it. Absolutely perfect.
চল ইটস আমরা বলি না সব ভালো যার শেষ ভালো তার তো বছরটা শেষ হচ্ছে এত সুন্দর with so much positivity, so much wonderful energy, with this COVID-19 which we have been lacking, but today would be the last session of this year as far as Kalakar Arts is concerned. But again, we are starting on the 3rd of January with a complete new thing. You may have heard the word Shabad, Gurvani, but did you know that there are some ragas that are very rare and only performed in the Gurvani Shabad Kirtan? So that's the session I want to start the year with a prarthana. And I have been requested to sing few bhajans. So obviously I have requested Kamal Virji to come and accompany me. So we will start with that. The new year, I am sure the year would bring much more hope, positive vibe, and, music, love all around us. Thank you so much, Indrani. You are a part of Kalakar, so I am not going to thank you as on behalf of Kalakar because you are a part of it anyway.
Absolutely.
But
It's a pleasure and an honor to be.
for today, thank you so much. Thank you to all our viewers. If you have liked Kalakar's session, please do promote it to your friends and families. They may have missed it, but I'm sure they would not want to miss this opportunity to listen from these maestros and to learn from their journey. So look forward to a better year next year with a lot of positivity. সবার জন্য আমার পক্ষ থেকে প্রাণ ভরা ভালোবাসা, শুভেচ্ছা, শুভকামনা। সবাই ভালো থাকুন, সুস্থ থাকুন। সামনের বছর আবার দেখা হবে। হ্যাপি নিউ ইয়ার টু ইউ অল।